Across the UK, online and on DAB.
It's a new frontier in broadcasting. The Two Mics on talkRADIO.
We'll get you talking.
Good evening, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mics live right here on talkRADIO. We've got another smorgasbord of entertainment, information and downright infatuation coming your way for the next 3 hours. First up, we're going to recruit for Porky's Armed Forces. He thinks we need to spend more money on defence. I don't know what he's scared of. I think we've already spent enough, quite frankly. We've got some flat earthers coming on to agree with Porky that electric cars aren't the future and that the planet isn't really round. And we're going to be getting all excited about the big stories of the day as well. 0344 499 1000 is the number you need to reach us on. We want to hear from lots of you tonight on the subject of our defences, because I think it's time we said we are no longer the world's policeman. There's no point in pretending we're the world's policeman, and there's no point in pretending that we should spend more and more billions and billions of pounds that we don't have to build more ships, to build more naval history elements and all of that. We just don't need it. Coming up later on, we're going down under to catch up with Sandra Lee, and it's the best TV review this side of Paris Island, Porkyvision. You won't want to miss it. You're listening to Mike Graham and Mike Parry, the Two Mics on talkRADIO.
The 21st century dream team of dialogue, debate and discourse. The Two Mics on talkRADIO. We'll get you talking.
We are the Two Mics. We're in for James Whale. He's still recuperating. We are in fine form and fine fettle. It's time to say a very good evening to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good evening to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good evening to you, Mike. It's got unseasonably hot in the last 2 hours. Now,
well, is that just inside this building?
No, it's outside as well. I went outside, to have a look at the atmosphere.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and...
did you take your sextant with you?
I didn't take my sextant with me. But what I'm saying is that we're reading now about these weather reports, and it says it's going to get down to -9 over the next 10 days.
Is that
because,
right?
we've got Arctic winds coming in. Siberian winds as well.
There's some bad snow over in Europe at the moment.
I love it. Let's have it, please. Let's have as much snow as we can, as much cold weather.
Well, no, we don't want snow in this country because the country will grind to a complete halt. You won't be able to get into work.
Well,
you'll have to ski in.
We want snow in places like Northumberland and Wales and, maybe Stockbroke, Old Surrey and all that kind of stuff.
No, if you have it in Surrey, you won't be able to, I promise you, the trains will not run.
Yeah, well, I think they will. I think they're more efficient than you believe. But no, the point is that, so this morning I put all the preparations into place for a freezing day. I put lemon juice into the bird bath so it doesn't freeze.
Lemon juice?
Yeah.
Why does that not freeze?
I don't know, but it doesn't. Lemon juice doesn't freeze.
You should put vodka in because, of course, that freezes at a much lower temperature than the water.
Not good for the birds. And
I suppose there was that. Well, how much lemon juice not very good for them either, is it?
Yeah, lemon juice is fine.
Is it?
It just doesn't freeze.
Are you talking about real lemon juice or that ersatz stuff that you buy in a plastic lemon?
Yeah, the plastic lemon stuff.
See, that's not lemon juice. That's got sugar in it, which can't be good for the birds.
No, it hasn't got sugar in it. What do you think it is, then?
It's not just it's not pure lemon juice. Trust me.
Don't be ridiculous.
It's not. It's got sugar in it.
It has. Anyway, look, we've got to get on to more important issues. And one of the important issues is defence, OK?
Defence is a very important issue. I don't disagree.
I thought your opener was very unbalanced.
What do you mean?
Well, talking all sorts of rubbish about, we don't need a defence budget,
well,
we don't need any more ships and all that kind of stuff. We
don't need to spend any more money on
Who is going to defend us? We're an island state.
What are you talking about? What sort of defence are you talking about?
I'm talking about defence against those who would wish to do us down.
Yeah, well, they all live here, all right?
No,
yes,
that's not true.
All the people that wish to do us down already live here.
Mr. Putin does not live here.
Putin has not been the guy rampaging around Borough Market stabbing people.
Mr. Putin, when he sends his knackered old aircraft carrier through the English Channel, is trying to say to us, don't mess with me, OK?
Well, Mr. Putin also is not driving cars over Westminster Bridge and running people over.
That's internal security. That's internal security.
Those are the people who wish to do us harm.
When was the last time
we got bombed by the Russians?
No, we haven't got bombed by the Russians for one reason.
Why?
We have a nuclear deterrent.
Oh, right.
And that's why the importance of the nuclear deterrent is so magnificently, prescient in what we do.
You say that, but I mean, the whole point of the nuclear war and the nuclear sort of face-off between Gorbachev in many years gone by and Ronald Reagan was that the Russians went bankrupt trying to keep up with the amount of money the Americans were spending.
They did.
So that's all dead and buried that now.
No, it's
Nobody
not.
in Russia is anywhere close to firing a nuclear weapon towards Western Europe. It's not going to happen.
Of course they're not, but the problem is that Russia have the technology to be able to sell to other rogue nations who would seek to cause the destruction of the West.
There's lots of people.
Right?
There's lots of people.
And the Russians sell it to them.
Well,
you think there's not a relationship between Russia and Iran?
There's any number of people who are willing to sell nuclear capability to many countries around the world.
That's right.
We've got a nuclear capability in Israel. The Indians have got nuclear capability. They're
not aggressive to us.
Well, hang on. We now believe that Kim Jong-un has got nuclear capability.
He's aggressive to us.
We now know that the Iranians have got nuclear capability.
They're aggressive to us.
We know that Pakistan has got
They're
nuclear
not aggressive
capability.
To us.
Well, they might be one day.
They're not.
The bottom line is that, we are a very small island nation, as you say.
We are an island
part
nation.
of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation, right? So we are protected by that. Now, as long as we're still in NATO, it hasn't hurt France at all being outside of NATO, by the way.
Yeah.
But, as long as we're still in NATO, then we are no longer required to be the leading light of NATO. We don't have to spend more money than everybody else. We don't have to pretend that we are running the world alongside America. Yeah. America's a giant country. We don't have the resources, we don't have the money, and we don't, frankly, have the threats to worry about.
But the only thing I can say to you is that the Americans, including President Donald Trump, have said that NATO in Europe have got to put in their sensible contribution to the defence of the West.
And that may well be the case. You've got to remember
if we
as well,
start dipping below the 2%, which everybody agrees is the line by which below which you cannot fall, then we are not taking responsibilities for our own defence. And if you ever, in any form of life, in your personal life, in your family life, in your business life, and in your national life, start depending on somebody else to defend you, you are finished. You are finished.
Well, we don't defend ourselves. We are already depending on everybody else. We depend on NATO. We depend on the United States of America.
We're the biggest contributor to NATO after the Americans.
Yes, I know that, but we are still part of the NATO alliance. Therefore, we are part of what that big umbrella provides us with, which is bigger than what Britain can provide on its own. I mean, for example, you do know this week that there's going to be some kind of conversation in Europe, in the EU, about a European army, right? Yeah. Which is being readied for the future.
Utter rubbish.
Whether it's utter rubbish or not, they are discussing whether they should have a European army, because Britain will no longer be part of the European Union, which will completely and utterly destabilise militarily the European Union.
No, it's utter rubbish. The smallest country.
What do you mean it's utter rubbish? You mean it's not true?
No, what I mean is that the idea of having a European army is so preposterous as to not worth considering. Well, start off, we don't speak the same languages, right?
Well, so what?
So
have you ever been to, for example, when I was in the Balkans covering the Bosnian War, right?
It's the only war you've ever done, really, isn't it?
It is the only war I've ever covered.
It's the only war you ever talk about.
But when I went there, I did actually learn something, which you, obviously, in the many wars that you covered, did not learn, and that is that when you are dealing with the United Nations force, people speak all kinds of languages. The Spanish were there, the Ukrainians were there.
I'm sure they were.
The Dutch were there, the Norwegians were there, the British were there.
What would
there
Spain
was no
contribute?
problem.
What would Spain contribute
Spain's
to the European army?
Spain's army was one of the hardest armies in that particular part of the world at that particular time, and anyone who knows anything about defence, of which you are not one, would tell you that. And we've got, luckily, somebody who does know an awful lot more about defence than you do, Deborah Haynes, who is, of course, the defence editor at the Times.
Absolutely.
She'll be able to tell us what the facts are of this story, rather than a load of sort of mumbo-jumbo sort of nonsense that's coming out of your mouth from the 1950s.
You sound like a bloke who's just had a drink on a Friday night. Them Spanish, they're right hard, they are.
Well, the
right
Spanish,
hard.
well, I'm not talking about the Spanish being right
the
hard.
Spanish haven't really got a great military force.
Well, let's talk to Deborah and see what she has to say. Deborah, very good evening to you.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, sorry about this shouting backwards and forwards. Mr. Parry seems to be stuck in the 1960s and thinks that, Britain's a great part of the military complex of the world.
We are.
What's the situation?
Well, so I missed the conversation beforehand. What were you guys talking about?
No, don't worry about that.
What we're arguing about really is that Mike thinks that it's a disgrace that the British Army is no longer fit for purpose, that the British defence budget is not big enough, and that he wants more money spent, and he wants Britain to be more important in the world as a military force. I'm saying I don't think there's any point in that, because obviously General Sir Richard Barrons has said that the forces are close to breaking point. Isn't it time we realise that actually our forces are not fit for purpose because they don't need to be fit for purpose?
No, I fundamentally disagree with your premise.
Exactly.
The UK has always been a global defence power. That's been one of our sort of unique selling points that made Britain Great Britain. And we're a permanent member of the UN Security Council. We're an influential member of NATO. We have always punched above our weight in terms of our size. We're a nuclear power. The problem that we've got is politicians, and to an extent civil servants and the military, have kind of taken for granted the status quo, or the situation that we've sort of inherited, we've grown up knowing. And they've taken, ever since the end of the Cold War, there's been a peace dividend that's been banked by successive governments, which has seen a reduction in defence spending and also a reduction in the size of the armed forces, but yet not a reduction in the rhetoric of the power that we can project. And so you've reached a point now where there really is a fundamental problem of hollowing out of capability. So our actual ability to sustain a military force overseas or even on our home territory for a credible length of time is in question. And there are 2 points about defence spending. The defence budget is really big, and yet there are a lot
How much is it actually now, the defence budget?
It's about £36 billion a year,
Right.
And the government has pledged to increase that 0.5% above inflation each year of this Parliament. The problem we've got, however, is a thing called defence inflation, which sees defence industry charge MOD increase above inflation amounts of money for the kit that we purchase. That's one problem. Another problem is there is just structural inefficiency in defence, which countless governments and countless really good civil servants and really good people in the military try to combat, and yet structurally, culturally fail. So there's a structural inefficiency, which means that the defence pound doesn't go as far as you want it to do. But taking all that aside, the fundamental problem that we're faced with right now is that the government signed up to a defence review back in 2015 that stated an ambition for the size and shape of the military, like the Army, the Navy and the Air Force. And yet it was based on an assumption that the MOD could bank £20 billion in efficiencies over the decade. And that has so far failed to materialise. On top of that, you've had the fall in the value of the pound post the Brexit vote, which has really ratcheted up the cost of equipment bought overseas, especially in America. And on top of that, you have this persistent failure of the military to give a correct sum for the amount that equipment costs to buy and, more importantly, to support. And so you're left with the actual money that they say they need to buy this stuff has a £20 billion efficiency saving that's required to meet that figure. But then the real figure of what it actually costs to buy and support this stuff is, there's a range of estimates that up to an additional 10 billion more on top of that. So what you've got is a funding crisis in defence. You've also got an inability of defence to reap the benefits of structural reform, which would actually make the defence pound go further. And then on top of all of that, there's kind of like a dearth of strategy. There's these great plans for defence. So to have this ambitious aircraft carrier with F-35 fifth-generation jets. Obviously, we've got our nuclear deterrent. There's this plan for...
That's right. That's right. Deborah, I accept all that you're saying, but another point I want to put to you isn't the defence budget one that's easily picked off by politicians? Because every day people are beating the drum for the health service, give more money to the health service, education, give more money to education, give more money to things that people see day in, day out. The reason the defence budget is picked on all the time is because of our deterrent. We haven't fought a war, of any significance since the Second World War.
The deterrent obviously plays an important part, but you make a really valid point, and that is that the majority of people living in the UK today have not experienced war.
Exactly.
They believe that the status quo that we have inherited is something that's ours by right and can't be taken away. And that's just a completely naive attitude to the reality of the world. I mean, war doesn't. You don't just choose war. War can choose you. And the fact is that...
but hang on a second, Deborah, because surely the war that most people are aware of is the war on terrorism, right? And the war on terrorism has a blowback effect which regards places like Borough Market as fair game, which regards Westminster Bridge as fair game, Manchester Arena. I mean, that's where the real war front line is, isn't it?
Well, I mean, yes, there's obviously a very big and significant terrorist threat. However, the threat from terrorism is not existential to our existence.
Exactly.
It's obviously, it's deeply horrific, but it's not going to end our way of life. The existential threats are the sort of things that you've got where it's North Korea developing, intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuclear bombs attached to it that could destroy a country, or, a peer country such as Russia or China turning into a foe. and threatening our very existence. It's that kind of peer-on-peer, state-on-state level threat that it's the sort of thing that we have allowed our capability to counter, to erode. And it's not just us, it's across NATO. The problem that we've got is that the UK, compared to our European allies, is in a good position, but that's not a good position. It's just we're not as bad as them.
Yeah. No, I agree. And Deborah, the other thing about me is we have reputational standards to uphold in this country.
That's
no, hang on, Mike. We have
fanciful.
reputational standards. We have a fantastic armed services. I live in an apartment overlooking Portsmouth Harbour. When I first went there 10 years ago, there were 6 or 8 naval vessels in that harbour every day. Now there isn't one. I know you don't need as many ships these days because of increased, efficiency and all that. But, I mean, our reputation around the world as a great military force, which was at its height during the Falklands, is being chipped away all the time by lack of resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, we do mean the argument that you don't need as many ships because the new ships are more capable.
Yeah.
It's true that they are more capable, but you can only have a ship in as many places as the number of ships that you've got. So that argument, to me, falls flat. And it's
good.
It's like it's the MOD spin to justify cost saving.
Yeah. No,
but isn't the real crisis, and I'm slightly worried, Deborah, as well, you've got a bit native here, because you're so immersed in the naval kind of budgetary situation and the armed forces budgetary system that you're telling us about how the system works and how the internal kind of civil service works, and I appreciate that that's very important to the lifeblood of the armed forces. However, I mean, there's a recruitment crisis going on in this country, isn't it? I mean, loads and loads of jobs are not being filled currently in the armed forces, not because they're sacking people, but because nobody wants to join.
We're not making them attractive jobs.
Well, I mean, of course they're not attractive jobs. They pay you a pittance and you might get shot.
You need pride.
Why would you want to go in there?
You need pride to work in our armed forces.
I think the point is, Deborah, and I think both you and my colleague, Mr. Parry here, are suffering from what I call nostalgia syndrome. You want Britain to be a big force in the world.
No, we want us to be safe.
No, but it's not. Well, you can't make Britain safe on its own with a few ships
from outside invaders.
And a few people. You haven't barely got enough members of the army to cover a bin men's strike, right? So they're not going to really protect you from the Russians if the Russians are going to come.
You just answered your own question.
Why?
If the army's been run down so badly, it's not a fighting force anymore.
It's not.
What good is there having a British army?
Well, that's my point exactly. Deborah, what do you think? I mean, should we not just say, look, we can't be the second greatest army in the Western world, so let's just forget about it and think of ourselves as a small nation that needs help from others?
No, I think that's a terrible idea.
But that's the reality.
The reality is that post-Brexit, defence is one of our it's supposed to be one of our strong cards.
Exactly.
Europe looks to a strong Britain in order to defend it, and and for us to project our influence. It's a fundamental part of what we are able to give. And like you say, we've got armed forces that have been world class. And the problem that you've got now is because of what I've been talking about in terms of the funding challenge.
Yes.
It's the kind of things that make our armed forces great, and that is the training that we have, the opportunities for deployments overseas, all this and the equipment that we buy for our military. All these things are under threat because of the funding challenge, and unless the government and the public wakes up to the importance of defence, especially in the post-Brexit world, then I do fear that we are going to slip to be a sort of second-rate military.
I totally agree. Deborah, last time I saw an American aircraft carrier in the Solent, because they're so big they can't get into Portsmouth Harbour, right? It was the USS Theodore Roosevelt, the one before last. It had 90 aircraft parked on its flight deck, okay? And somebody told me who was there, that represents 1/4 of the total number of aeroplanes the RAF have got on the deck of one American aircraft carrier.
They've probably got another 3 of those. So
they've got 13. They've got 13 aircraft
so
carriers.
there is no way that Britain can in any way compete with that.
No,
so
but
all you can ever do
we have to make a bigger contribution.
I think you're just fighting against the inevitable progress of time, which is wiping it all out. Deborah, listen, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed. Deborah Haynes, the defence correspondent for the Times newspaper there. We want to hear from you on this one, though, because it's an important issue.
Of course it is.
And I think an awful lot of people are going to agree with me that we should stop posing around and pretending that we're the big bad guy all over the world, and we're going to be able to go from here to almost anywhere. We could go to North Korea and take out Kim Jong-un. We can send the SAS to Russia and take out Putin.
But
It's all a fantasy. It's all nonsense.
You're being preposterous.
No, I'm not. You're being preposterous.
No, you're being preposterous.
You're the one who is saying, no, you're the one who's saying, we are Britain, we are the empire, we should be a strong nation. It's all gone, mate. It's finished, okay? It's gone.
Don't you dare put words in my mouth. I've said none of that.
Don't tell me not to dare do it. I'll do what I like, mate. This is a radio show and you're not in charge of it.
Your stupid proposal, we'll sail off to North Korea.
Oh, yeah, let's get the British flag out, wave it around and everyone will run away.
Don't be ridiculous.
Well, that's what you're saying.
We have a presence in the world. We are a trading nation.
Rubbish.
Any
Absolute
trading
rubbish.
nation needs a strong military presence because
we
when
haven't
you're
got
a
one.
trading nation,
We haven't got
you're
one.
an island, every part of your country is surrounded by
you
water.
live in a fantasy world.
You have to have
You think you live in a penthouse
plan.
overlooking the
You have to have
naval
a plan to protect
dockyards
yourself.
of Portsmouth, right? You think that gives you some quality and some reason to know more
It
about
does.
it than anybody else?
It does.
Just because you've seen a couple of ships coming backwards and forwards.
No.
And because you can see the HMS Victory sitting there.
No,
it means nothing.
I can talk to people who are there, and the fact that the Britain's newest and biggest aircraft carrier, the biggest ship
Which doesn't have any planes on it.
the ship that the biggest ship the Royal Navy's ever had, parks below my balcony, gives me
Doesn't give you anything other than a view.
An added reason to feel that I have a greater, impulse on what should be happening in defence of this country than you ever will.
Well, that makes the sort of Mike Parry sense that I would expect. Why don't you give out the number so that people can ring in? We can hear from some other people because I'm sick of hearing your view.
There are so many people who I mix with in Portsmouth and around there, right, who know exactly what's going on and who tell me about the things that are happening in the defence budget. That's why I found it so necessary to talk to you tonight, OK?
So give us the number because we want to hear from some other people out there.
The number is 0344
Yes.
499
Yes.
1000.
Thank you.
Now, can you stop shouting yes and I'll do it again?
All right.
0344 499 1000. That's the number you need to reach us. And I want you to talk to me and talk to Mike Graham about why we need a very, very, very much improved defence budget and a defence policy.
And I want you to call me and Mike Parry because I want you to tell me how deluded he is and how ridiculous it is that just because he thinks he's got a view of Portsmouth Harbour, that he knows more about the Navy than anybody else in the entire world. I'll tell you the state of the British Armed Forces right now.
You know nothing about it.
It's being run by a new minister, right, who doesn't even have the nous to know anything about the armed forces. His name is Gavin Williamson.
Yes.
Right? Now, he was only just appointed because Michael Fallon put his hand on Julia Hartley-Brewer's knee.
Yes.
She's been upsetting people again, by the way. We'll get to that in a little while. But, this guy knows absolutely the square root of sod all about running the armed forces.
I agree with that.
He is Her Majesty's, cabinet member for the entire business. So that's what tells you the place is in absolute ruin and turmoil. 0344 499 1000. We are the two Mikes. This is Talk Radio.
Across the UK, online and on DAB.
The two Mikes on Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.
Talk Radio, we are the two Mikes. You know what to do. We want to hear from you. 0344 499 1000. Porky thinks we need to have a stronger defence budget. He seems to think that we should have more aircraft carriers, more planes, more soldiers, more naval intelligence officers. He wants to bust the budget on the defence budget because after Brexit, claims Porky, that's when we're going to need a strong military. But I'm saying surely we should just accept that in the end, the military has now been run down to such an extent and Britain's role in the world has been run down to such an extent that we might as well. Well, it's not defeatist. It's realistic talk. Robbie says this. Can the boys are waiting in Hanover, Flughafen, flying back to Blighty, get a shout out? The loudspeaker's getting some funny looks. I'm not sure if you're in the military, Robbie, or what. Here's one from Gren, who agrees with me, who says, Porky, have you been in the pub again? MG, spot on. Time to start dealing with security in this country and protect at home, not abroad. How many people have been found to have coming back from Syria and are willing to kill us? Well, that's a massive problem
Homeland
in this
security
country.
is massively important. But for instance, one of the things that the new Defence Secretary, Gavin Williamson, has said in one of his opening assessments of where we are is that submarine activity by Russian submarines has increased tenfold over the last 2 years
but
alone.
they're not doing anything, are they?
Mike, they are. They're gathering intelligence. They're gathering movement to our ships. They could sell that on to other people.
But surely the point about the way that things are now done in the world is that most espionage, most spying is now done on computers. I mean, look at Snowden, the guy who went to Russia with a whole load of information for the Russians from the Pentagon in the CIA, inside the CIA's, hallowed halls. He just walked off with it, and it was all on a memory stick.
Nevertheless,
you don't need to put submarines in the English Channel.
You do. Nevertheless, you still have to have a presence. You have to have a barrier between us and other countries who wish us down. I mean, small things like the Gibraltar situation.
Yeah.
If we didn't have a Royal Navy, Spain would seize back Gibraltar.
Well, they might do.
Now, the Gibraltarians, I'm not being a little Englander here, do not wish to be run by Madrid. They wish to be run by the British because it's been a British
but it's a very old-fashioned way of doing things. I mean, you're talking about sort of gunboat diplomacy and sending a boat down from Portsmouth to Gibraltar, be there in about 5 days to repel the Spanish.
I'm not.
It's ridiculous.
What I'm saying is that if we don't feel that our obligation to the people of Gibraltar should last forever, then we got it wrong from the start. And we didn't get it wrong from the start. They want to be British. Why do you think we went to the Falklands and resolve that situation, which will never happen again?
Well, let me tell you something else. It may not happen again, but if it happened now, I don't think the British Navy would be able to go to the Falklands and actually win the Falklands back.
They could, actually.
I don't know if they could.
No, they could.
Well, I'd be surprised.
Well, we've got a very strong submarine fleet to start off with, so that would get rid of the Argentinian Navy.
How many submarines have we got?
Altogether?
Yeah. Altogether,
nearly 30.
30 submarines.
Yeah,
okay. Well, so what are you talking about? Why do you need more then?
Well, you need more surface ships, because surface ships are the presence of a Royal Navy. The submarines are the ones that do the work under the water.
But I know what submarines do.
Yeah, but I mean, for instance, a modern warship can do the work of 4 old ships. So the reason that the Argentinians could never invade the Falklands again is for 2 reasons. Firstly, we have submarines and they don't.
Yeah.
They don't really have a navy anyway, but they have a reasonably credible air force. Now, we would only have to park a couple T-45 Royal Navy ships 300 miles off the coast of Argentina, and any plane that took off would be shot out of the air within seconds.
Right,
so we can defend it still.
Well,
but we've got to make sure that the budgets keep up to the level of us being able to do that.
Well, there's £36 billion in a budget, right?
Yes.
Now, that seems to me to be an awful lot of money. That's a lot more. That's 3 times. Well, I don't care what the Americans' budget is. The American
defence budget is $1 trillion.
Well, it may well be. There's 300 million people living in America, right, compared to 60 million living here.
Yeah, but I'm saying the imbalance of what they contribute and what we contribute.
Well, it should be 5 times, or 10 times, because America is a superpower.
It's nearly 25 times.
But Britain is not a superpower. I mean, no matter how much you want to believe that Britain is the most important country in the world, it isn't. Okay, there are several countries in the world that have got more military power
I still want to live in a country that has influence around the world, because if you have influence around the world, you're in a safer country.
Well, that's true, and as long as Britain is on the United Nations Security Council, as Deborah Haynes told us, then there will be influence. But you don't necessarily just get influence by having military might. Well, it works for China, it works for America, and it works for Russia. But we do not have the size of a country to provide that kind of military might. It's simply pie in the sky to think that we could ever compete with those 3.
That influence is always a good thing.
Of course it is.
And influence comes through making an effort on defending yourself.
Well, that's
Anybody
true.
Who doesn't want to defend themselves is written off.
But surely influence also comes from behaving in a way which is wise, behaving in a way which is measured. Britain is only on the Security Council not because of its military might,
no, it's because we've got a nuclear weapon.
Because of its history, partly because of the nuclear facility.
It's because we've got a nuclear
partly
weapon.
Because of that, because if it was true that if everyone who had a nuclear weapon was on the Security Council, there'd be many, many more countries on there, right? But only 5 are on there at the moment. So it's not just the nuclear deterrent. It is the fact that Britain has been historically a very good force for good in the world.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
However,
it's remain
but it's not there because of its military might, and I think you've got to realise that. I'm going to give the number out again because I want more calls on this. 0344 499 1000. Blaze says, MG is correct. We don't have a defence force of our own. That's why we are so cosy with the Americans. We are the brains and they are the brawn. And I think that's worked very well over the years and over time.
The
British Armed Forces are known to be very good at specialisation in certain areas.
Of course we are. The SAS are still the best in the world.
The SAS
and we've got to make sure they are.
Still very much the best in the world. You've also got the logistics forces that Britain has. Certainly, again, to talk about,
right?
Well, GCHQ is no better probably than the listening stations all over the world that the Americans have got.
No, it's the second best in the world after Virginia. I mean, it without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, you don't know that for sure.
We do know that for sure.
Well, what about the Russians? I'm sure they've got a pretty good one as well.
The Russians are okay, but they haven't got anything like as sophisticated as what we've got in the West. I can assure you.
Well, I don't know where you get all this information from.
Well, it's because I make a joke sometimes of my friends in Naval Intelligence.
You haven't got any friends in Naval Intelligence.
I live down
Absolute
in Portsmouth,
rubbish.
and I talk to people.
You talk to the old bloke in that yacht club that you joined,
who have spent their
Commodore.
life in the military. Now, I mean, if Russia are that damn powerful and that good and that ahead of us, how come the last time they brought their aircraft carrier through the English Channel?
Yeah.
I mean, it was laughable. The spotters from the British and US military looked at it. It said it was amazing. It didn't sink.
So why do you want to spend more money to defend yourself against laughable aircraft carriers from the Russians?
Because if we let the defence budget slip,
you're all over the place on this.
No, I'm not.
You are.
To the defence that the Russians, the level the Russians have got, we will end up like them with rusty old
the
ships.
big story going on.
The
big story going on at the moment, right, is Russia's influence in Western and global elections. Okay, it's all about weaponising information. It's not about weaponising troops. It's not about weaponising ships. It's not about nuclear submarines.
You fell for the propaganda.
No, it's the propaganda. You mean the propaganda?
Yeah.
The influence is on the final syllable in that word, propaganda.
The
bottom line is, right, that the Russians are much more interested now in hacking information than they are in shooting anybody, because that's how everybody is going to win in this country and in the world, to have more information than the other guy, not to have more weapons than the other guy.
Why do the Russians want to, in any way, have the drop on the West? Why do you think they do?
Well, they want information because information is now power. It always has been.
And what will they do with that information?
They will use it to their advantage.
And what will that advantage be?
Well, it depends what their advantage is supposed to be.
That's what I'm saying.
If they want to put somebody...
you don't know, do you? You can't answer the question.
Well, no, because the question is open-ended. If you want
when
a lesson...
send a fleet of British
if you want a
Navy
lesson,
ships anywhere where there's a problem, it's a statement. Britain are still an influence in the world.
That's rubbish.
It's not rubbish.
It's absolute cobblers.
It's not rubbish.
The Russians,
and by the way, it can
Russians,
be done for humanitarian purposes.
Well, that's what we use it for now,
It can be done for goodwill purposes.
That's all we use it for now.
But more importantly, it can be done for don't mess with us purposes.
So when was the last time the British Navy was sent somewhere with a don't mess with us message?
Gibraltar.
Gibraltar when?
And it was, I'll tell you exactly when it was in April of this year.
April of this year.
That's right.
And what was the big threat from Gibraltar then?
Because a Spanish naval so-called warship, well, they haven't really got me,
got a bit too
close to British territorial
waters.
waters.
Toy Town stuff?
No, it's not Toy Town.
It is.
You say it's Toy Town.
It is Toy Town.
And that, you've fallen for the propaganda. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. It's all boys' games. It matters intensely.
It doesn't.
It matters intensely.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And if we hadn't sent a Royal Navy ship to challenge them, next time they'd have got a bit closer.
Yeah, well, I'm not worried about what the Spanish are going to do on the streets of London.
Of course you're not.
Okay? But I am worried about what these idiots coming back from ISIS are going to do on the streets of London. I am worried about who's going to place a dirty bomb somewhere in the city of London because they worship some kind of weird cult-like fanatical, violent organisation based in Syria.
Yeah.
That's what I worry about. I don't worry about Gibraltar. I don't worry about whether we need to teach anybody a lesson in some dark corner of the world by sending a gunship. I haven't been brainwashed. I'm talking about reality, and you are talking about absolute rubbish.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about reality.
Kojak says this. MG, I can't believe what I'm hearing tonight from Mike Parry. What the hell is going on with him? Minor says this. I am with Mike Parry. While terrorists at home are despicable, they are not a strategic threat. We need to have an effective military for the existential threats for the UK and its territories. Well, Minor, I'd be delighted if you could tell me what those threats are and where they're likely to be made, because I can't work that one out. But do give us a call, please.
If we knew what the threats were, right, they wouldn't be threats.
Right, okay. So you're now talking about unknown knowns or known unknowns.
Of course I am.
You're starting to sound like Donald Rumsfeld.
No.
Just so you can get more money into the budget.
Well, I wouldn't mind more money into the budget, because the threats that are going on around the world, which involve this country, are not known to the general public.
No, so we don't know what they are.
That's why we have GCHQ.
Right. That's why
they pick them up.
No, that's why we have parliamentary democracy in this country, so you don't have mad majors and mad military men walking around going, give us all your money. We can't tell you why, but we'll spend it wisely.
You see, you can't put together facts. If
You don't have any facts.
If aeroplanes
What
started,
facts have you given me?
If aeroplanes started dropping out of the sky, it would be because North Korea or somebody like that had started interfering cyber-wise with our computers.
I see. Right.
So what do you say to the North Koreans then? Do you say, please, will you stop that? Or do you send a couple of Royal Navy warships, get very close to their shores
I don't think they're going to be frightened by the Royal Navy, to be honest.
Don't you?
No.
Well, they should be.
I think they might be frightened by the US Navy, but not the British one.
And do you not think that the Royal Navy, and if we send a couple of warships, would be part of a bigger
and how
fleet
long would it take
from
us?
the west?
And how long would it take us to get to North Korea?
It would depend where our ships were.
Well,
at the time.
we don't have a base over there, do we?
It would depend where our ships were.
The
at
Americans
the time.
have a base over there in the South China Sea, so they can get there a lot quicker. So it's down to them.
At any one time, we have a nuclear
I love
submarine.
it when you try to sound measured, even though you're getting more and more irritated.
At any one time, we have a nuclear submarine.
You've seen the time, by the way.
Which is submersed,
Yes.
which could be anywhere in the
Submerged.
world. Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
submersed.
Yeah.
And,
Merged.
and can I just say to you, because you don't understand this,
I don't want you to get upset.
way ahead of trouble becoming public, trouble is going on behind the scenes. That submarine would be diverted to the North Korean peninsula.
Rubbish.
So that on the day when we said to China, to North Korea, or even China, whoever was doing it, now you stop it or else.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, what are you going to do? I said, well, we actually have a nuclear submarine parked 300 miles off your coastline.
No, they wouldn't know that, of course, would they?
They would not know
Of course
that.
they would.
They would not know that.
You live in a fantasy world.
No, because that is the way the world works. But you don't understand these things.
You don't even know how your phone works. Don't start telling me how the world works.
Well,
we are the
I
two
do.
mics. This is Talk Radio 0344 499 1000. Do give us a call.
Across the UK, online and on DAB.
The Two Mics on Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.
Right, this is the Two Mics. We're in for James Whale on Talk Radio with Pimlico Plumbers, London's leading service company, keeping your home working all day and every day.
Absolutely right. Now, getting quite a few tweets coming in. You can tweet us, of course, at the Two Mics, at Talk Radio as well. Here's one from Graham. It says, Porky, can you remember 9/11, 7/7, Manchester, Westminster? That's what good GCHQ did. And what is their yearly budget?
Yes.
Hashtag El Planco. That's a good point. Somebody sent in a picture of Captain Birdseye,
Yes.
asking if that's your person in military intelligence that you talk to.
No.
Kojak says, sorry, it's really got me on one now. Who is a threat to us? North Korea will have the hump with us because of America. ISIS are the threat to our people. That's a fact. Wake up, Porky. Wake up. Steve says MG is correct. The enemy is among us. Letting fully trained terrorists back into the UK is madness.
Yeah,
it's a bit like letting the SS walk in 1941.
Right, what about this one here from Sal?
Yeah.
She says, I've never disagreed with you so much on this military subject, Mike Graham, and agreed so much with Mike Parry.
Well, my condolences to you.
Porky, for once, is talking great sense
Uh-huh.
and showing great responsibility. But it worries me people won't take him seriously due to him spending so much time acting like a plank.
Well, that's
that,
true.
Sal, is such a ridiculously inverse compliment that I wish I hadn't read it out.
Yeah, well, you should have
Please
read it
don't
before.
send me any more like that.
You should have read it out. You should have read it before
because
you
what
read
I'm
it out.
trying to do is defend our country, protect the reputation of our country.
Well, that doesn't matter.
And to trifle with it like that, Sal, I'm sorry, you're not worthy of it.
Yeah, well, let's talk to John, who's a
Yep.
former Special Forces man, and let's see what his view of the whole
Excellent.
situation is. John,
Yeah.
very good evening to you. Thanks for calling.
Good evening, guys. It's great to speak to you. The best radio show on the market.
Thank you.
Very kind. Thank you very much. Is the British Special Services, Special Forces, the best Special Forces on the market, would be my question.
The best trained,
Yes.
the elite of the elite.
Yes, indeed.
And if we fail to address our budget towards our military, we do it at our peril. Because there are many people around the world which would love to see the downfall of this country. Never mind our inborn terrorists, it's other countries as well. And I have got to admit, MG, I'm very sorry, mate. I'm with Porky on this one.
Yeah.
Porky, by the way, I spoke to you when you were on your own, when MG was on holiday.
Oh, that's right. When he pushed off and I doubled the audience on the show, you were one of the listeners.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you,
afraid,
John.
unfortunately, John, he's telling more lies. He's now surprised that people are surprised that they agree with him. Listen, Porky is allowed one decent night every single year that we do a radio show. This might well be his night. I disagree with him fundamentally, though, John, not because he's wrong, because 20 years ago he would have been right. But now we face a very different different threat. We face the major threat in this country, and by far the bulk of people tweeting us at the moment are agreeing with me, that most people's view of danger in this world is that the terrorist danger, the likelihood that their plane is going to get blown up, that their train is going to get blown up, that somebody's going to come running at them in the street with a knife, somebody's going to drive a car at them. Now, you might argue they're not proper terrorists, but that's where the real danger is, surely.
No. MG, I'm with you 100% on that. We do have an internal problem, but we must not neglect our international situation. We must protect this country.
Yeah.
I mean, God in heaven help us. I was proud to serve my country.
Yeah.
And I would stamp so everyone can sleep safe in their beds. But you must fund those forces. Yes, we do need more money for internal. And Theresa May axing 20,000 police officers and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
No. It should be the other way around.
John, let me tell you this: if you've served your country, you will be aware of Portsmouth as the home of the Royal Navy and one of the great naval ports of the world. Okay, now 10 years ago, I would wake up, go out my balcony, I'd see half a dozen ships in Portsmouth Harbour. That's a sign to the world that the entrance to Britain is protected. Okay, we have.
Well, I'll tell you what: if Portsmouth is entrance to Britain, bad luck because nobody will want to come.
Hang on, it's protected. There are ships there. There are highly professional sailors. There are members of the Special Forces who train nearby, Royal Marine Commandos. It was a statement to the world, don't mess with Britain. Do you know what?
Yes.
Last time I was there and I woke up, there wasn't one single ship in Portsmouth Harbour.
Well, where were they, Porky? Were they out on duty?
No, they've scrapped. They're round the corner from Portsmouth Harbour, at the back of the harbour, and they're in what's called the ship graveyard. They're all being scrapped, but they're not being replaced.
Wasn't one being sent over to Turkey to be stripped or something?
They're all being sent over to Turkey to be turned into razor blades and all sorts of things. It's outrageous. But what I'm saying is, John, it's not just the fact that we need fighting men, fighting ships, fighting tanks. We need to give the image to the world we are a country that can defend itself. Do not mess with us.
Absolutely. 100%, Porky. I'm with you, mate.
Yeah, but John, I'm sorry to say this to you, and I appreciate that you know more about serving in the military than I do, because I haven't done that.
No.
But the point is...
never would you, neither
well,
would
yeah,
you.
but I spent a lot of time with people who have been in the armed forces.
Oh,
and in
really?
fact,
Well,
And where?
In Croatia?
Well, certainly when I was in Croatia and when I was in Bosnia, but also don't forget that I lived on the edge of Salisbury Plain.
Right.
You complete plonker.
Oh, really? And they used to give you a lift in a British Army tank, did they?
Well, I've been in many British Army tanks, but you see, once again, Porky tries to personalise it.
Plank in a tank.
Usually, well, you couldn't get into a tank. You're too fat. But John, here's the point, right? There's no point in pretending that Britain can put the fear of God into a country around the world. They can put the fear of God into a particular situation. Yes, I agree with that. And I'm sure when you guys in the Special Forces turn up, people are very willing to throw their hands up in surrender. However, you've got to admit, John, that Britain, in this current state of affairs in the world as it is today, is not a global power. So why pretend that we should be?
No, it isn't a global power.
Thank you.
But when it comes to, international terrorists, my last tour of duty was in 85 in Uganda, the Idi Amin regime.
Yeah.
And 24 of us went out there. All 24 came back. We was up against 400 so-called elite African National Guard, and we took most of them out. The ones we didn't ran. Yeah. And we took the 3 African generals out. They're evil. Because Idi Amin was an evil man.
Blimey, that must have been some battle, that. I hope you've written a book about it.
No, it wasn't. It was it's all guerrilla warfare. Because I was with the SBS.
Oh, I see. Your Special Boat Service.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. Nobody else knew what that was.
Yeah. No, they didn't, actually.
And we was part of SOE, Special Operations Executive. So we had SAS, SBS and Gurkhas.
Right.
So the elite, and to be picked by them, it was a big honour for me. I was only 25 when I went out there.
Sure.
And it was a boys' own adventure. I did brick it a bit because when we got back to the landing strip, we only had 5 minutes because the pilot said they'd only wait 5 minutes. I had 8 rounds of ammunition left, no more water. I was tired, no more food, nothing.
That's tough.
But the Deacons treated us so well.
What did you do with the last 8 bullets?
Sounds like the wild geese.
Yeah, it does. It does very much.
The last 8 bullets stayed in my magazine, and we had a horrible 18-hour flight back to Lynham
Surely that was the best flight of your life, John.
You've still got one bullet.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
You've still got one bullet left, John. Would you mind bringing it in here so I could fire it at Porky?
Yeah, that's very
Obviously, when we saw that C-130 land, we thought, thank God.
Yeah.
You know, because,
All right, but that's a great story, John, and maybe we should get you on to talk about that another time. But what about right now, in the world in which we now live, right? There's a word going around in Zimbabwe that there's been a bit of a military coup attempted. Mugabe's now got rid of the guy who was going to be his biggest threat, and he's put somebody else in that's friendly to him. You know, we now are not in a position to go into Zimbabwe and create havoc
too late.
and do anything against Robert
We should have
Mugabe.
gone into Zimbabwe decades
ago.
ago.
No, because we have no right to go there politically.
Well, what right did we have to go to Iraq?
Well, we didn't have any right to go there either.
Exactly.
So why do you need an armed forces then?
You need armed forces because we had an obligation to Zimbabwe because it used to be Rhodesia and it was a British protectorate. And a lot of British people, a lot of people who still have British passports live there.
Absolute
and we should have gone there. That
was
a disgrace.
But we can't go. Well, I'm asking John a question now. We shouldn't go there now, John, should we?
No, but gentlemen, I'll tell you now, the Rhodesians were so glad. They kept saying on the radio, God bless you, thank you for what you've done.
Yes.
That's all fine, John. Listen, I'm going to let you go because we're out of time, but that's all fine, and I appreciate what you've done for the country and for the armed forces and for very many other countries.
Yes.
But that was all a very long time ago, and now my point is that we are not equipped to deal with things in the same way.
We're not equipped because the budgets have been run down. And they shouldn't have been.
36 billion is not a rundown budget. Let me tell you.
Don't be ridiculous.
Well, you tell me which department of this country's government has more money.
The National Health Service.
The National Health Service spends 10 billion a year.
No, it doesn't. What about the infrastructure of the National Health Service?
It's 10 billion a year is their budget.
No. Compared to
their budget, their annual budget is 10 billion. Trust me.
No, it's more like 100. It's more like 100.
And then you've got something like 36 billion going out on defence and saying it's not enough money.
No, it's not enough money, and particularly as we're running a 20 billion deficit on goods alone. I mean, the inefficiency of civil servants means that about 20 billion over the last 5 years has been wasted on orders for equipment that doesn't work.
Right.
We've got to get it right. It's the fault of the government.
So your answer is to give these people more money so they can waste even more of it?
No, my answer is to get the right people running it and make it efficient.
Well, that's a step too far.
And restore the presence in the world that we should have.
Well, we don't have a presence in the world and we shouldn't have one and we don't deserve one.
Rubbish.
We will take more of your calls on this coming up next.
Scottish. You can't be patriotic.
I think you'll find that there are more people from Scotland in the armed forces in this country by proportion than any other part of the country. So don't start on Scotland because you'll get a big slap from me, matey. 0344 499 1000. This is Talk Radio.
The 21st Century Dream Team of dialogue, debate and discourse. The Two Mics on Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.
Why are we playing the theme from EastEnders?
Well, you won't believe it, but EastEnders...
I won't, no. More certainly.
Now, let me tell you this. When I was the news editor of the Daily Express,
yes.
that was the mid-'80s,
right.
That's when EastEnders started, OK? And
that's when they used to get like 25 million viewers a night, wasn't it?
It's just incredible. Yeah. What happened was, for years, the commercial stations, Granada in particular, because it was regional stations then.
Yes.
Granada was the northwest
Thames
station.
And all that.
That's right, yeah. Granada was the northwest one, covered Manchester.
Meridian.
Yeah, that's right. They had Coronation Street.
Yes.
And Coronation Street, I mean, just wiped the floor with everything every year. You know, 17 million viewers a night and all this kind of stuff. And that was in the days when there were only 4 channels you could choose from.
Sure. Even before old Channel 5 came along, Ben Frau.
Before Ben Frau had entered the arena. So it was BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and that was Granada, Meridian, Scottish Borders, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And Channel 4.
Right.
So what happens is, Michael Grade, who was the...
He was Lou Grade's son, wasn't he?
He was Lou Grade's nephew. And the other Grade's son.
Lou Grade used to live down the road from me when I was growing up.
Well, Lou Grade, who
he was known as Low Grade, wasn't he?
He made ATV Grade. They were the Midlands one, okay? Yeah. So ITV was the
but was he not the sort of the godfather of the entire kind of independent television network?
Not really, because they all tried to buy each other out, and it wouldn't work until Mrs Thatcher came into power and allowed them to merge, and that's where London Weekend Television and Thames all merged together.
Right.
But anyway, the point is, Lou Grade was brilliant. You know, he was World Charleston champion as well as being a TV mogul.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was.
Charleston, that's a hard dance. That.
Yeah,
that's like the sort of 20s one, isn't it?
Oh, is it? I don't know.
Well, it's the Flappers one.
Oh, is it?
Well, I know you don't dance, but you still know you know what tango is, right?
Yeah, I know what tango
You know where
is.
it comes from.
I've seen. By the way, I've seen South American Latin tango
Yeah.
in Buenos Aires.
I was going to say, well, that's where it comes from.
Fantastic.
It must be amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know where flamenco dancing comes from.
From Spain.
Yeah, so you must know.
España.
But
España.
you must also know then that the Charleston is famously the kind of the flappers dance from
Does
the
it come
20s.
from Charleston in Carolina?
I'm not sure if it was invented there, but
no.
the name was given to it because it was the thing that everybody did in The Great Gatsby. They were all
That's
dancing
right.
Charleston.
That's right. Okay, yeah, fine.
Anyway, we've got guests to talk to, you know.
Yeah, okay, yeah. In a
Let's talk
sec.
about whether the Earth is round or flat.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is
Much
a bit
more
like
important than this
it's a bit
rubbish.
like that. So anyway, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Michael Reid comes in.
Yeah.
He becomes controller of BBC One. He says, "Get me a soap opera." Somebody writes and invents EastEnders.
Right.
Whoosh, wipes the board.
Yeah.
And a lady who started in the very first edition, Letitia Dean,
Oh, yes.
is 50 today.
Is that right? Because she's
Absolutely.
always got that kind of youthful look about her,
She
hasn't
certainly
she?
has,
You
yeah.
remember her as quite a young woman in
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
And
I mean, even I used to watch
she
a
was
bit of it.
Dirty Den's daughter.
Yeah, Dirty Den, who ended up going to jail.
Dirty Den ended up dead in a canal.
I know, but the guy who played Dirty Den had been in jail, hadn't he?
I think, he had. He'd been in jail for murder
Yeah,
when he
that's
was in
right.
the armed forces
Yeah.
in Germany.
There you go.
And
See,
he killed a
everybody's-
cab driver.
Everybody's got a certain synergy
right.
to it on the
That's
show
right.
tonight.
Yeah.
Loads and loads of other things to do. We've got lots of great tweets to read out
Yeah.
to you, by the way.
Yeah.
But one from Chris, just before we move on. I find the blatant hypocrisy of the West to be breathtaking. Russia are doing nothing that we haven't already done and continue to do. And here's one from Glyn, who says, there's no point in having nuclear weapons because if Russia let them off into silos without launching them, the world is gone anyway. So why waste our money? Well, okay, let's talk to David Weiss, who's the host of the Flat Earth podcast, because over in the United States of America, they've just had a conference called the Flat Earth International Conference. Now, these guys are not to be mocked. They're not to be in any way sort of made fun of because
who
they
thinks
have,
we will?
Well, I'm just saying that
Why
they
would you
have.
raise that?
Well, because they have a belief, right, that in fact all of
terribly
the evidence.
rude, you know.
Hang on, all of the evidence which we are told that the Earth spins at 1,040 miles per hour while travelling around the Sun at 66,000 miles per hour. The solar system moves through the Milky Way galaxy at 490,000 miles per hour. They say there's no evidence to prove any of this stuff. So let's ask David what he actually thinks. David, a very good evening to you. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Mike and Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
No, not at all. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, the Flat Earth International Conference has just finished. I think it was last week. What was the purpose of that? How many people were there? Tell us about it.
There was over 600 attendees. More people showed up than tickets were available. It was probably the largest gathering of flat earthers in a long time. I believe there's another conference in the UK coming up not too long from now, but I don't know exactly when it is. So that's something to look out for.
Okay.
But one other thing you said, we don't believe that the Earth is spinning.
No.
Belief is the enemy of knowing. We've been told things our entire life, and there's no proof. We're just told as kids, you live here, you're spinning, you're flying through space, and there's nothing that proves that. And as a matter of fact, when you test it, there is no motion to the Earth.
Okay, so, David, I was going to say to you, my first point to put you is you don't really believe the Earth is flat, do you?
I know that it doesn't spin, so therefore it
Okay,
is flat,
so
in
if
my
it
opinion.
doesn't spin...
Hang on, I didn't hear the end of his answer.
Sorry, David, say us again.
Say that again.
I said he asked if I don't really believe the Earth is flat. It's not about believing. It's about looking, observing, and understanding. Let me ask you a question. Do you really believe that when you watch the sunset that you're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound?
No, but let me ask you this: if you stand in a field,
that is what you believe.
Let me ask you: if you
That
stand
is
in,
what you believe.
you come from America, you stand in a field in Wyoming, you look up at the sky, and the sky is moving across your head. So where's that movement coming from?
Well, the
If
clouds
Earth-
are moving, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. If the Earth is standing still, where's the movement coming from?
So the Earth is a flat plane, and what we call stars and planets, which is a whole other discussion, above us are all rotating around a center star that we call Polaris that is lined up with our center North Pole. Just let me give you a quick explanation of what the flat Earth is, because if you Google flat Earth, you're going to get the Flat Earth Society, which nobody at the conference believes the nonsense on that site or the images that they show. Just imagine a large, an expansive flat plane, frozen, and we have a local sun, that small sun that is circling over it like a little heat lamp, and it melts out a giant lake, a giant ocean, and all of the islands in the middle are all of the continents, and the shoreline that surrounds us where the sun is unable to melt any further, that's all Antarctica. And so that's all Antarctica. Antarctica is not a continent at the bottom of a ball. It's the expansive land that surrounds the flat Earth ocean.
So you're saying that that you believe the world is actually flat, then?
Well, you keep saying I believe that. I look at evidence.
Well, I'm just asking you. Well, all right, I'm asking you.
Indoctrination.
All right. Well, let me ask you the question a different way. Is the world flat?
Absolutely. And by the way, when people started telling me that the Earth was flat, I wouldn't even watch a 1-minute video. But after relentless people saying, you got to look, I finally said, I've had enough of this nonsense, and I'm going to debunk it. And I went in to debunk it, and that's how you become a flat earther.
Okay. Well, well, hang on, mate. What did John Glenn do when he got into that spaceship and it shot it into the sky and he went round the Earth and then came back again? Where did he go if the Earth's flat?
So he went up, over, and landed in the southern oceans, and there's no other proof of anything other than that. If you watch any space launch, the rocket goes up. But
he orbited the Earth, and
the camera switches to a cartoon. Yeah, there's no evidence of that. All spaceships go up, out over the ocean, and then we're shown a cartoon. I'm like, oh, there they are in space.
Well, hang on. John Clem must be part of a huge conspiracy because he actually saw the edge of the Earth all the way round.
Well, there's footage of the Earth as a round object from space, isn't there?
So no, there's not. There's
what is that fabricated? Are you saying that's fabricated?
Here's the problem that everybody gets into.
You didn't answer the question. You got to answer the question, David. Otherwise, we're not going to get anywhere.
I'm going to answer it.
Well, is it? Are you saying that the pictures that we have seen from space of the Earth as a spherical object are fabricated?
Yes, they are. NASA even admits it that they're CGI, they're put together.
No, NASA does not admit that they fabricate their photographs. Let me ask you. Let me ask you another question. Have you ever flown in a
marble shot? They say that it's Photoshop because it has to be coming straight from NASA.
No, that's rubbish. You're using their own words. You're using their own words and twisting them into something to suit your purposes, right? Have you ever been in an aeroplane?
Absolutely not.
And looked out of the window to see the curvature of the Earth?
I used to think I saw curvature, but NASA will even tell you that you can't see curvature until you're about 70,000 feet high, and I don't know any airplanes that go that high.
Well, I've seen it in a plane that goes 50,000 feet high, right? And people who flew on Concorde have taken pictures of it, so we've seen it from people who were on Concorde who can see the curvature of the Earth, including my colleague who's sitting next to me, who might be many things, but he is not a liar.
Mike, let me respond to you, because I used to have that same argument, and I used to look at that. The pictures from the Concorde, we can't find any that are not done with either a fisheye lens or looking through curved glass. But better than that, we sent balloons up 121,000 feet with a non-fisheye lens, and we show a perfectly flat, expansive horizon.
You have? Well, you personally sent balloons up. Well, of course you've sent, but you're from the people who believe the Earth is flat, so you would be seeking to prove a point. So why should we trust your pictures any more than anybody else's?
Well, we're just putting them up there, showing the equipment that we use, and it's real. You know, we're not using a fisheye lens. The pictures, everyone's like, what about the Red Bull jump? And if you look at the Red Bull jump, the entire Arizona is a quarter of the Earth. It's using a fisheye lens versus a flat lens.
David, why does it
regular non-distorting lens?
Why do you your life mission to prove that the Earth is flat? Does it matter to you whether you live on a flat Earth or a round Earth?
It's a good question.
Well, that is a great question, and I used to say, you know what? When I started realizing that we don't live on a spinning ball, I said, what difference does it make? I still have to go to work. I still have to do everything else.
Yep.
But what it is the people that are ruling the Earth, the real rulers of this Earth, don't want us knowing who we are, where we are, what we are. They want us thinking we're an insignificant speck of dust flying in an infinite universe.
Well, we are.
But when you discover that we live on an intelligently designed system, it changes everything. You end up finding out that you are truly a powerful being, but they want to keep us in this low-level.
Who are they? Who are these people?
Well. These are the bloodlines that have been running the planet, that are controlling the government, the Rothschilds, the Morgans.
Oh, no, David, please. I didn't think you were going to turn into some mad conspiracy theorist that was going to tell me that Washington was designed by the Masons.
Wasn't it?
Huh?
I mean, look, you're telling me
You're
that
just another
Washington does
crazy
not
conspiracy
provide
nut.
violations?
You're just another crazy conspiracy
Well, you could
theorist.
say that. You could say that, but I'm just looking at evidence about the flat Earth. We're talking about the shape of the Earth. There's no evidence that it's.
But you
moving.
think, but you think the
Let me
Roth,
ask-
but you
let me-
believe. Hang on, but there's no evidence that the Rothschilds run the world either. But you believe that.
Well, see, it's not about that. Let's stick to. You asked me who's doing it, and as a matter of fact, I probably shouldn't have said anything because I'm speculating. That I have no proof.
So that's what I mean.
but
So you've moved
I-
away from what you call your evidence that the Earth is in fact flat to a sort of very
Mike,
fanciful,
let me
very.
give you some
Hang
evidence.
on, don't
Let me
talk
give you
over
some
me,
evidence.
David. It doesn't work. Just wait till I finish, and then you can have your answer. The point is, you've moved away from that,
Sure.
and now gone back into the kind of the favourite hiding place of every conspiracy theorist who thinks that people, lizard men and the members of the royal family and the Rothschilds, and usually something to do with the Jewish population, are running the world.
Don't group me in with all of that.
Well, you've just identified yourself as one of them.
So I said that there are people that have the upper hand on controlling governments.
Well, who are these people, though? Have you ever met any of them?
Well, they don't exist, do they? David, let me ask you this, please, because I want to ask you practical questions. Has anybody ever fallen? No,
am I going to be able to answer any of the questions that you're asking me?
No. Has anybody ever fallen off the Earth? Has a ship ever got to the perimeter of the Earth and fallen off?
Have you ever sailed on a lake? Has a boat ever fallen off the edge of a lake?
No, because a lake has a border. It has a border where water turns to land.
No, but if you're on Lake Michigan, there's a horizon which is nothing but water.
Yeah. So,
if
the Earth is flat, why have people fallen off it?
Get to the end. Well, so if you want to hear my answer, I'll explain it. Because the Earth is not a disk floating in space, because that is disinformation. Right. The Earth is a lake on an Earth plane. The Earth is all that there is. And when you get far enough away from the sun, it's frozen land. It's a frozen edge, and we call that Antarctica. You can't fall off the edge, just like you can't fall off the edge of a lake. What I encourage everyone to do is don't believe anything I'm saying, because that would be insane. Do your own research. There's videos out there. A great one to start. It's called A Stranger's Guide to Flat Earth, 21 Questions. It's on YouTube. It's free. Check it out, and you'll have a lot of your questions answered.
That'd be where Superman lives in Crichton.
Let me ask you another question, David. What's your view, or if you don't want me to ask you what your view or your belief is, of other planets in our solar system? Do you believe that we are in a solar system? Are we in a solar system? Are other planets in the solar system also flat?
So I'm going to answer that. The only information that we have on planets, the only images that we've ever seen are from NASA and Disney, and both of them are, Disney's more credible than NASA. NASA has never put anything into high orbit. They admit now that they can't go past low Earth orbit, but they don't. But somehow in the 1960s they put men on the moon 6 times. Which doesn't make any sense.
What about the European? What about
all of the data? How to do that?
What about the European Space Agency? That's got nothing to do with NASA. They've put up satellites and they've sent pictures back. That's nothing to do with NASA.
They're all the same.
No, they're not.
All part of the same.
Oh, they're all part of the same conspiracy.
That they're separate.
So you don't believe that there are? So are you saying? Hang on, David.
Deceive the public.
Are you saying that basically there are no other planets? That they're all a figment of somebody's imagination?
We're not the only thing that we can tell you about what we see in the sky is that they're lights. We see these small lights in the sky. The planets used to be called wandering stars because they're just like stars. And they move around, and if you can zoom in on them with a P900, super zoom camera, but they look nothing like what NASA and Disney show us. If you look at the recent picture of Pluto that NASA gave us, there's actually a silhouette of the Disney character Pluto on it. Just look it up. Look up, recent picture of Pluto, and you'll see Pluto.
Right, okay. What do you do for a living, David? Is this what you do for a living?
Absolutely not. I'm a businessman, and it has nothing to do with this. This is what I do in my spare time because I don't like being deceived my whole life, and I don't like the fact that we've been lied to in such a great way that we will have difficulty thriving as a race if we let these deceivers keep us locked in this planet thought.
Right. Who are these deceivers?
You keep asking me that, and I don't. Why don't you take a guess?
Okay, David. Listen, let me ask you.
Well, if you keep accusing people of doing something, you should at least be able to identify them.
Well, hang on. Let's move on to new territory here, David. Please. Have you spoken to people whose profession is to travel around the world? And I'm talking, for instance, of airline pilots. Now, if I get into an aeroplane in Great Britain and I fly to Australia, which I've done on a number of occasions, then the pilot of the aeroplane who's flying me there is travelling halfway around the world, and then when he brings me back, he travels round the other half of the world, because I believe the world is spherical. So have you spoken to them and asked them for evidence about their flights around a spherical world, and has anything they've ever told you reinforced your view that the Earth is flat?
Will you give me 60 seconds to answer this one?
Yeah, please.
Go on then.
So airplanes, the word airplane flies over the flat Earth plane. So if the Earth was flat, like I say, the airplane goes up to altitude, flies in a straight line, and lands. If you look at the route on the globe to go from let's say Santiago, Chile to Australia, it goes all the way up to north. It goes up to America. It goes over to Dubai and back down, rather than straight across.
Yes,
that's
right.
A crazy big beat. Yeah, but on a flat Earth map, that is a straight line. If you look at the flat Earth map, we have many airplane pilots that have spoken out quietly, but if they speak out publicly, they're no longer allowed.
When you say spoken out quietly, that means not spoken out, right?
Well, correct. They've come out and they talk about how they realize that the Earth is flat, but there's nothing they can do about it. The airplane pilots have taken video and shown us how what they see, and how when they're flying in the northern Arctic area, they could see the sun going all the way around. There was a flight from California to Germany, and the sun went right around the flat Earth plane and came back just like you would see it.
But let me just ask you one question about that, please, David. If the world is indeed flat, how does it become quicker to fly over the North Pole if you're going from New York, from London to Los Angeles, than if you fly the other way and go over New York City?
I'm glad you asked that. If you look at the flat Earth map, and by the way, the flat Earth map is not exactly accurate, and neither any of the globe maps.
It's not accurate.
That we're presented with. No, and
there's no use as a map, then, is it?
Well, hang on. It's very close, but they're not showing us it, and it's difficult for us to figure it out. But we are working on the maps. But if you look at the AE map, which has been used for navigation for years, the north is the center, and then you could fly over the center to get to the other side of the planet, but it's really just across the plane where you're crossing the center. As soon as you cross the North Pole, you're going north, you cross the North Pole, and now you're going south, and you can get over to any spot you want. Nobody has ever...
Well, so that means that... No, hang on. That means that there's something on the other side of the North Pole, therefore it can't be flat.
You're not paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
As a flat... Well, you're not understanding. The center is the North Pole, and all of the islands, all of the continents surround the North Pole. So you can go over the center. And east and west are circles around the center, and that's true on a globe or on a flat Earth. But to go east, you have to go in a circle. You have to, if you're going 90 degrees or 270 east or west, you have to constantly correct to the north to maintain that heading. And anybody can do that with a magnet and a compass. Try to make a straight line and maintain a heading of east to west. You can't. It goes around. Same on a globe, same on a flat Earth. The problem is nobody has done it north to south because you can't. Because when you go south, you're going away from the center, and that keeps on going, and it remains south. East and west are circles, heading. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, all right. Well, David, listen, thank you very much indeed.
Well, I just want to ask you one more question before I let him go, because I want to know what business you're in, David. I'd like to know whether you thinking that the Earth is flat has any effect on the business that you do.
You know what? That's my personal business, and
you don't want to tell me?
This is just some research I'm doing. Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
No, it does to me. I'd like to know what you do.
Well, everyone needs to do their own research, and I have tons of short videos on my YouTube channel, which is DITRH, stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. Check that out. Check out Jaronism, another channel that will really expose NASA. And I highly recommend people start out with the Stranger 21 questions.
Do you think NASA is a sort of a malevolent force in the world?
Well, not a malevolent force. They are
propaganda
just a
force.
Hollywood studio. Yeah, 100%.
Propaganda
They're
force,
here
okay.
to prove that we can walk on a ball.
So you don't think that man... So presumably you don't think man landed on the moon either, then?
Absolutely not.
What about this guy from Twitter, Alan, who's one of our listeners? He says, I've seen planets through my lad's telescope. What do you make of that?
So have I. And they're lights. All you have, everything is just a light in the sky, and they have their own frequency. They do crazy things. So what about boats going over the horizon? We're all shown that four-masted ship going over the horizon, but now that optics have changed, you can watch a ship go over the horizon, zoom in with your camera, and there's the ship again.
No, I can't do that. I haven't got that sort of camera.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Do you believe in God, David?
Yeah, simple camera.
Do you believe in God?
I didn't before I discovered that we live in an intelligently designed system. So, yeah, there is a creator. I'm not putting any label on him because I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you do believe in God?
He believes in a creator.
Well, I believe that there's a creator, that we live in a created, whether we are all part of God or there is a benevolent God or whatever. This is an intelligently designed world that we live in.
I see.
Okay, David,
well, listen, thank you
very much indeed
taking the time to talk to us, David. David Weiss there, the host of the Flat Earth podcast. You see, the danger with all of that is it becomes one of these ridiculous conspiracy theories.
Well, not really, because nobody else believes it.
Well, loads of people believe it. There's a lot of vulnerable people out there who think that they're being controlled, right, by some kind of malevolent force, which is, like as he calls them, the deceivers.
I started to feel a bit sorry for him because I think you're very harsh on him. You're shouting him down a lot.
I wasn't shouting at him.
And not letting him expand.
Not at all.
I don't believe his views, you don't believe his views, but he's got every right to express those
That's
views.
why we put him on the show. He was on the show for about 15 minutes.
And that's why other people who are listening can make up their own mind about it.
Well, people want to call us about it, and they want to talk to us about it, and that's what we would like them to do. Why don't you give out the number?
I'm going to give out the number. The problem is that, we don't... The problem is that although you said 15 minutes, everything he said we knocked down. Whereas
because it was all cobblers.
Well, yeah, you say that, you see. But I mean, for instance, if we'd asked him how come the sun can rise in the east and set in the west on a flat Earth, I suppose it can. Because the sun can...
Don't talk rubbish.
No, the sun can still come round and rise in the east on a flat Earth.
Well,
on
what basis is the sun on that trajectory? Well, the Earth is not a curved shape.
No, the sun must then be orbiting the Earth. You see what I mean?
Well, yeah, but what shape is the sun then?
The sun is
the sun flat as well?
No, the sun's spherical, and the sun moves around. But he didn't say the sun wasn't. He said other planets. The sun's not a planet, of course.
It's rubbish. You see, the trouble with you is you listen to somebody for long enough and you start believing it.
No. Anyway, give us a call,
more of a plank than you are.
Give us a call, please. 0344 499 1000. Let us know what you think of David, who's just been on. He is from the Flat Earth International Conference. I mean, is anything that he said over the last 15 minutes making sense to you?
Well,
Let us know.
Not. No, if you think that any of that made sense, I would love to hear from somebody who could tell me why. This is Talk Radio with the Two Mics.
Across the UK, online and on DAB.
The Two Mics on Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.
This is the Two Mics in for James Whale on Talk Radio with a Pimlico Plumbers.
Sorry, who's that? Pimlico?
Did I say Pimlico?
Pimlico.
Well, when I meant to say it was Pimlico.
Exactly.
Pimlico Plumbers.
Yes.
More than just plumbers. Thank you very much for correcting me. A couple of tweets have come in, a couple of texts as well. Here's one from the Helpful Troll, who says, Mike Parry gets all of his information from a part of his anatomy which I can't name on the air.
Yeah, well, don't bother sending us any more messages again,
That's
please.
Not very nice.
Because this is a family show.
It is a family show. How about this from Alex? He says, can I get a shout out to my dad, Anthony, who's listening to the show back in the UK, quality show from the Two Mics. I'm listening in from the Phi Islands, is it, in Thailand?
Yes.
PHI?
Fifi, the Fifi Islands.
Yeah. Trying to soothe the pain of being an Evertonian in the sun.
Oh,
well, bad news for you, Alex, and indeed for Porky, is that Everton are back at the weekend because the Premier League is back at the weekend.
Premier League is back.
We're keeping an eye on Ireland.
We're going to be there, by the way. We're going to be at Crystal Palace on Saturday to see the mighty Everton.
Yes, we are.
And don't take any notice of the fact that, Marco Silva's turned you down. Big Sam's turned you down.
Yeah.
Deitch is not being talked about. These are all going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, never mind talking about Everton. This is not the show to talk about Everton.
It doesn't matter, but we've had a text about it.
Yes, I know. But I don't want to poison the airways.
I've got a great text here, right? This comes from our friend Mustafa. Mustafa, in fact, sent me a fantastic collection of Beatles records, to which I'm very grateful.
Oh, yes.
And, of course, I reciprocated in the right way. But he says here, hello, two Mikes. Could I get a shout-out for my little girl who turns 1 on Friday?
1?
It's very nice, isn't
That's
it?
the youngest fan yet.
She was born premature, spent a month in a special care, but is now doing really well. So it'd be great to get a mention. I know my wife in particular would very much appreciate it. Thank you, Mustafa. Well, Mustafa, best of luck, mate. We're so delighted that your little girl's pulled through and she's going to be fit and healthy and have a great life. And thank you for sending us a note and letting us know.
Indeed. Ian says, oh, my God, this flat earther bloke is hilarious. Hard to believe a reasonably sane-sounding guy could be such a nutter. Hashtag flatearth.org.
But these guys do believe in themselves.
Well,
You're right.
do.
You're right to raise the David Icke thing. The
Yeah.
very first TV interview David Icke did.
Well, I didn't raise the David Icke thing, but we mentioned it in passing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, and when he said, "Well,
People love this stuff.
I believe I'm the son of God." He was asked by the interviewer. I can't remember who the interviewer was. Was it Terry Wogan?
It might well have been. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, sorry. Did you just say that you think you're? And he said quite seriously, "Yes, I believe I am the son of God." Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So this guy was cleverer than that because
Yeah.
he didn't say, I believe this. He said, no, this is a fact. He didn't say that he believes the earth is flat. He said the earth is flat.
Yeah,
Let's talk to Callum, who's in Sheffield,
Good idea.
who I think also believes the earth is flat. Callum, a very good evening to you.
Evening. Yeah, I've been looking at the flat Earth, and I'm pretty convinced it's flat.
How are you convinced it's flat?
Well, just by looking on the horizon, it's flat.
Well, that's what people used to do when Christopher Columbus was around. They thought, don't go out that way because you'll fall off the end of the earth.
And it's there's a big ice wall around. You know, like if you look on a clock, and it's like this big ice wall. But if you look at big ice wall, Antarctica, it's a huge ice wall.
Okay.
Yeah, well, hang on.
Well,
I can't.
boundary, if you like, as well.
Listen, I can stand on the beach in Hastings, right, and I can look out to sea, which is generally speaking the English Channel. Normally, what I see, as our friend David was telling us, is a couple of ships on the horizon. What I don't see is an ice wall.
We'd have to go a long way out. It's Antarctica.
Well, you have to go a hell of a long way out from the English Channel.
Hang on, mate. We're in the Northern Hemisphere.
Quite a bit way from English Channel. That's great.
Callum, we're in the Northern Hemisphere. Antarctica is in the Southern Hemisphere. Can I ask you this? Whereabouts do you come from?
Sheffield.
Sheffield. And have you travelled extensively, Callum?
I've been on an aeroplane once and looked out window to Benidorm, and it looked really flat.
Tremendous.
Okay, so you...
I mean, I'd have to say, even Sheffield, Callum, is not flat. Sheffield's quite hilly.
Hang on, let's just get this right, Callum. That's
to do with mountains. It's the Earth itself is that lake thing where the horizon's
hang on,
flat.
Callum. Let's get this right. Your theory that the Earth is flat is based on one flight from... Which airport did you take off from in this country?
East Midlands.
East Midlands Airport, great airport.
And East Midlands
to Alicante, presumably, right? Is your one and only ever flight? No, I'm not mocking him, but that takes 3 hours. And on that flight, you believe?
Can mock me if you want.
No, you believe you worked out that the Earth is flat, yeah?
Well, I've also looked into it, and I've looked at Eric Debay, who explains it better than anyone, better than me. But he's really good.
Yeah.
What did you think of the guy? What did you think of David Weiss's explanation?
If you look at sun and moon, they do rise and east and both setting west.
Mm. Well, the moon doesn't. No, hang on. The moon doesn't rise or set.
It's out for longer, but they both follow the same pattern.
What?
And it moves its own line at the same size.
No, the moon consistently is a different size every time you look at it.
Of course, it's a different size. The moon is only the moon. Callum, the moon's only the moon.
Because it's on the horizon.
No, Callum, the moon is only the moon because of the light of the sun.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It lights itself up because it's out at night and it's out in day.
No, it's not, mate.
What do you mean? Like when you say, hang on, Callum.
Sun at one side.
Callum, hang on a second.
I've seen sun in west and moon in east.
Hang on a second, Callum. Let's go back to your description of how the moon lights itself.
It's just this.
How does it do that then? Hey?
It's its own light. Moonlight is its own light.
Well, where does that light come?
The moon's a cold light.
Where's but hang on, Callum, you've got to listen occasionally, okay? Listen to what I'm saying. Where does the light come from?
It lights itself up. It's a luminary. The luminaries.
What do you mean it's luminary?
Well, I mean people light candles on the moon.
No, it's its own light, like the sun. The yin and yang.
No, it doesn't generate its own light.
No. Callum, you may not have noticed, but the moon is not generally speaking on fire. The sun is.
Yeah, because the moon's a cold light, the sun's a hot light.
The sun's a hot light and the moon's a cold light. Yeah, I don't quite get that. But
so,
anyway,
so now that you think that the Earth is flat, Callum, how does that change your life?
It just makes me a bit free of thinking and just try and spread knowledge, I guess.
Okay.
Have you got any mates that have you got any mates that believe that it's also flat like you?
I've got they do. Yeah, I've got quite a lot. We're into this sort of stuff.
Hey, well, so a lot of you in Sheffield think the world is flat then?
Well, there's quite a few in Sheffield around the world, but we're
around the world. What people that think it's flat?
It's growing. This.
Well, how can you be around the world if you think it's flat?
Good question.
Yeah.
But but
Callum, what do you think of these great pictures? What
of all ages? Have you heard of Manly P. Hall?
Of what? Of who?
There was a guy called Manly P. Hall.
Manly P. Hall?
Teachings of all ages, yeah. He covered everything under firmament, everything.
Sunderland?
Everything you can think of.
Okay, I'm sure he did. But let me ask you this, Callum, more practically. When you see these wonderful pictures of the Earth, which always shows it to be blue because there's so much water around the globe, what do you think that is?
They're just CGI photoshopped.
Well, why
from space.
So there must have been a conspiracy going on then for hundreds of years.
It's all to control us.
Well, do you feel like you're controlled then, Callum?
We're living in a matrix.
Are we?
It's a matrix system, yeah.
You know how mad that sounds, don't you? Why if we're living in a matrix? Hang on. Well, Callum, hang on. Well, let me ask.
Listen.
No, you listen to me for a second.
And then,
you listen to me, Callum. Wait, no, you got to listen to us.
Let me have his say. Go on,
no,
Callum.
because I want to ask him a question.
Well, he's trying to tell us something. Go on, Callum.
Go on, Callum.
No, the reason they say that everybody's mad or laugh at me, the system are controlling us, and they go, "Oh, nobody's believing truth," but they can't have truth for me. I have got autism, and that might widen my perception with Asperger's. I don't know. We do look into this sort of stuff.
Yeah, but the point is this, Callum. If we were being controlled by somebody, right, would we not all think the same way?
Yeah, even though we'd have different personalities, we'd both be on the same page.
Yeah, but we're not, are we?
We're not, definitely not.
So we have freedom of will.
We do have freedom of will.
And we have freedom of thought.
Yeah.
We do.
So that doesn't make sense, does it?
Listen, Callum, I appreciate you.
When are you going to Benidorm next?
I don't know.
No, okay.
It's a bit warmer than here, though, isn't it?
Certainly is.
Yeah, okay. So
that's because it's closer to the sun.
Yeah. So, Callum, if somebody said to you, "Come with me," and we buy one of these round the world tickets, you can get these round the world airline tickets. You know, you go from here to New York, and then Los Angeles, and then Australia, and then you come back via Singapore and all that. Presumably, you wouldn't buy one because you wouldn't think you were going round the world.
That's right.
I would, but I'd look at it with my own perspective. I'm up for anything.
Yeah? I'll
experiment anything. I'm into everything. It doesn't bother me.
Okay, well, listen.
Never stop exploring.
Okay, well, listen, really appreciate you ringing us and giving us the benefit of your knowledge.
Thank you,
because you've got to remember, we accept all points of view on this show.
We do.
We don't necessarily believe them, but we accept people having them.
Here's one from Stevie who says, "We're not all like that from Sheffield, Mike, for God's sake."
Yeah, well, you know, that great football manager comes from Sheffield, doesn't he? The man who's now in charge of Cardiff.
Oh, who's that?
Neil.
Oh, Neil Warnock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why are you talking about football?
Well, only because
Nick Clegg used to represent Sheffield. That says a lot.
Sheffield Hallam, actually.
Sheffield Hallam.
That's good. Yeah. I wonder if he believes the Earth is flat.
Yeah, well, he probably does.
Yeah.
This is Talk Radio.
Across the UK, online and on DAB.
The Two Mikes on Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.
This is the Two Mics in for James Well on Talk Radio with Pimlico Plumbers, London's leading service company, keeping your home working all day, every day. Now, a lot of people are saying that we should have kept Callum on even longer, but we've got loads of calls to take on the old Flat Earth Society, and we'll be taking them all throughout this show. We're here, of course, until 10 o'clock later on, and, of course, we'll be followed by Rufus Hound, who's sitting in for Ian Lee, who's going to be along a little bit later on. Now, the number, if you want to call us, is 0344 499 1000. Right now, though, we're going to take a little sidestep and talk to Jane Hardy, who's author of The Self-Help Project. It says how to let go of frazzle and make time for you. Now, this is, again, another very important thing that you could learn from, perhaps, Porky, because you're always so busy all the time. She's talking about reprioritising yourself.
Yeah.
Jane, a very good evening to you.
Hello, you two.
Thank you
Hi,
very much
Jane.
indeed. And your book's not out until December, but obviously it's out there in time for Christmas. And Christmas is a time perhaps when people who are quite selfish suddenly become a little less selfish.
Yes, I think Christmas is also quite a stressful time for lots of us.
Yes.
We feel a lot of pressure from other people. And also, if we're already isolated and lonely, then it just highlights that too.
Yeah, it could do. Now, I've got a quote here, Jane. Self-care is not a fluffy concept. It's about taking responsibility for your physical, emotional and social needs. What you're basically saying is, screw everybody else and look after number one, aren't you?
First of all, yes, and then you've got more to give others.
You've got more to give others. Well, yeah, but I mean, you can't, look after yourself first and then say, now I'll give a bit to the other people. What you're saying is, be absolutely specific in your life that number one and number one only counts.
No. Your needs
You got that
matter.
wrong.
Yeah.
So what are you saying? What are you saying?
I'm saying that your needs matter. Your physical, emotional, mental needs matter, and that by prioritising them, make you happier in the long run.
And actually, that's, to be honest, that's what you do a lot of the time. I mean, that you make yourself happy before you worry about other people. Because in the end, actually, I know a lot of people who are unhappy because they're always trying to please somebody else.
Exactly.
And then they're disappointed, when they think they've done a good thing, but they don't get thanked for it by the person to whom they thought they were pleasing, because in fact the person didn't want that in the first place.
And also you feel resentment. How many times we all said yes to something and then resented it and tried to find a way to get out of it, when really if we'd just been honest in the first place and said no,
well,
we would have been happier.
Yeah, I mean, Jed, I go along with your theory, absolutely. During the course of my life, I have tried to help so many people, emotionally, physically,
Really?
giving them money, paying their tax bills.
No, giving them money, that's different.
Yeah, paying their tax bills, bailing them out of desperate situations, putting myself at risk for them. And actually, when you do that, people, instead of being grateful or thankful for it, generally resent you.
Yeah, I think it works both ways, doesn't it? It's also what are our reasons for being so helpful and doing those things? Is it because we want approval from others, or we're seeking, approval from outside of ourselves? And also, then by doing so much for other people, are you setting yourself up that they're just going to, the expectations then are that you're always going to be that person? And also, that doesn't always help them to problem solve themselves, or to help themselves sometimes.
And is there a sort of magic bullet here in this book? Is it does it set the store out and say the first thing you have to do is X, or you have to organise your life, compartmentalise parts of it, have 5 minutes to yourself every hour, something? I mean, is there a formula that you suggest?
No, I wish it was that easy, because the things that nourish us and make us happy change from person to person. So the book just explores some of the common things that can trip us up, really, sort of like the obstacles. Talks about boundaries, as we've just talked about. Boundaries, our obstacles to self-care, which can sometimes just be us. We can get in our own way. Time, we all feel like we're really time poor at the moment. We're all hyper-connected, but not really connected in a way that we feel is meaningful. Yeah. It touches on all of those kind of aspects, really.
I see. Now, one particular part of your book I like is decision avoidance, OK? We live in an option-rich world, but with so many choices. Now, can I tell you this, Sharon? I'm not joking. There was one night when I walked around in circles in the town centre where I live.
This is one of your experiences?
Yeah, because I could not decide whether I wanted takeaway pizza, Chinese takeaway, or fish and chips.
And
every time...
Had you been in the pub?
No. Every time I arrived at the door of the fish and chip shop, I thought, I don't want this. And I went to the Chinese takeaway. No, I don't want this. And I went to the pizza shop. No, I don't want this. I did that for about 20 minutes. Is this a common problem?
I mean, I think that's a tough decision regardless, isn't it? It's a hard decision to make between those three, even if you haven't made a million decisions later on in the day. But I think that generally as a whole, we have to make a lot of decisions, and then you get decision fatigue, and they become harder and harder, the more you have to make.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah. But the book's called The Self-Care Project, How to Let Go of Frazzle and Make Time for You, published by Orion Spring, 14th of December, and it's in all the various normal forms and normal places?
Yeah, that's right. It's on Amazon. I think it's in Waterstones, lots of other bookstores, in audio, Kindle, paperback.
That's brilliant.
Lovely.
Well, listen,
Jane,
very good luck with it, Jane.
Us.
Thank you very much indeed. Your mate Jeremy Vine, by the way, has endorsed it. He's written the book from someone who's been there and got the T-shirt. These are precious, precious words on how you can emerge from the mental health abyss. So practical and so interesting. Yeah. It might even be a lifesaver.
Wow. That's rather nice, isn't it?
So you're rather, well, you like Jeremy Vine, don't you?
Jeremy Vine's a good guy.
Yeah.
And
you haven't been on his show for a while, have you?
Sorry?
You haven't been on his show for a while.
Well, I don't have time to do it anymore. I'm often invited on, but I don't have time to do it because I'm an expert in several subjects which they particularly like. But of course, we know his brother very well.
We do.
Who is a big pal of ours, really.
Yes, indeed.
In fact, he did an endorsement for our show.
He is a big fan of ours as well. John says this, someone tell Tim Peaks he's been in a cartoon all along. Somebody left the gate open to the idiot farm again. Even Mike Parry sounding reasonable tonight. Let's talk to Brian, who's from Washington, up in Tyne and Weir.
Oh, right.
And he sees planets, doesn't think the Earth is flat. Brian, a very good evening to you.
Hi, two mates. Listen, it's a pleasure to speak to you two guys. I've listened to you for quite a while now, and it's an absolute privilege to be on the show here.
Thank you. It's a very great pleasure for us to have you on, Brian, as well. Now, tell us what you've seen up there in the skies.
Well, basically, my son's telescope, I've looked through it, and I've seen a few different planets like Venus, and obviously, on a bright night, I've seen Jupiter, and obviously, when I've looked at the planets, there are actually sphere-shaped or circular shaped. So,
can you see the rings of Jupiter as well?
Oh, God, not really. Not very clearly, no.
No, it's Saturn that's got the rings, isn't it?
Saturn, I mean, yeah, that's right. That's Saturn, sorry.
Yeah.
But you see shooting stars, Mike, and they're all like sphere-shaped or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And even if you want to go outside now and look out with the naked eye, you can see certain planets.
Well, do you know the other question
during the night if it's a clear sky?
The other question I would have to people who think the Earth is flat is that how come in that case that it's hotter in certain parts of the world than in others, because the explanation for that
bits of it are frozen by the Antarctic, according to the flat earthers.
No, but what I'm saying is that where the equator goes around the Earth, now, if you believe that the Earth is round, then it makes perfect sense that the equator is the belt that goes around the middle, and therefore is the part that's is consistently closest to the sun, right?
Yeah. Another point as well, Mike. If the world was flat, right, what would happen to Australia, where that's situated down the southern hemisphere?
Yes.
That would, it just doesn't make sense, because obviously, if the world was flat, all the nations of the planet would be right next to each other, wouldn't it? And we're separated by vast oceans.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Antarctic, Australia, funny enough, even though it's a very hot country, is much closer to Antarctica, where they think is the end of the world, than we are. So,
but also, wouldn't the water kind of run out or run off somewhere?
Well, no. The explanation from David seemed to be that the world is like bookended, if you see what I mean, by Antarctica at both ends.
Oh, like it's an ice wall.
Yes,
you mean so it's literally holding the water in?
Yes, that's absolutely right.
It's like, remember that Jim Carrey movie where he played the guy who was actually inside a TV documentary about his own life.
Right. Okay.
And I can't remember what the name of it was.
No, I don't like Jim Carrey. I think he's rubbish.
You don't like Jim Carrey?
Yeah, he's rubbish. No.
Do you like Jim Carrey, Brian?
I'm not really a big movie fan.
Are you not?
No, I don't blame you. Washington.
I kind of watch the sort of things I watch on TV are like documentaries.
Yeah, good.
I like classic comedy.
Excellent.
I can't really sit and watch a lengthy movie. I get quite bored.
No, the thing is, mate, Washington
stuff and classic TV, cult TV.
Yeah, now Washington, Tyne and Weir. That's in the mighty
Weir side, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's in the mighty county of Durham, isn't it?
Weir side.
No, it's in Durham, isn't it?
Actually, Mike Graham was right. It's in Wearside.
No, it's in Wearside now, but it used to be in Durham, didn't it?
Oh, yes, it did, yeah.
Thank you.
All the boundaries changed. I think it was in the middle 70s, all the boundaries changed because obviously South Tyneside wasn't around then.
That's right.
Absolutely. That was part of County Durham.
So what I'm saying is it's fairly...
It's not because of the word's flat that it's moved.
No. It's fairly remote. It's fairly remote. So you get
woke up and it moved.
So the advantage you've got over us is that if we're looking through a telescope from central London, looking at the planets, our view of the planets is befuddled by all the lights that are in London. Whereas you can go to places near Washington, Tyne and Weir, where there are no lights, and you get a perfect view of the planet, so you can tell they are completely spherical, like marbles, can't you?
Marbles.
Yeah, there's a place up in Northumberland. I can't think what it's called now. It's quite far up Northumberland, but it's pitch black out there, and it's always a clear sky. And I can't. It's near Dulston Castle somewhere, but I can't think of the name of it.
Is that Kielder Forest, maybe?
What's that lighthouse place?
Just past Kielder, yeah.
Just past Kielder, yeah.
Apparently, it's a good place to go to if you want to do,
study the stars.
What's that lighthouse place out by Whitley Bay?
No, well, that's Lindisfarne or Holy Island.
No, not Holy Island. There's a lighthouse. You remember the famous place when we went up to do a show?
There's a lighthouse on Holy Island.
No, it's not Holy Island. There's a lighthouse at Whitley Bay, apparently. Do you remember we talked about it?
St. Mary's Lighthouse.
Hey?
St. Mary's Lighthouse.
St. Mary's, that's it.
Yeah, that's right.
St. Mary's Lighthouse, a dogging site, isn't it?
I don't know that. How did you know that?
Well, we were told it. We were in Whitley Bay.
No, I wondered what you'd done when you disappeared for a couple of hours that night we were there.
No, I don't do dogging, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah.
No, you were the one that disappeared in the middle of the afternoon. And guess where you went? The pub. Listen, Brian, thank you very much
Well,
indeed
at least
for
it was
calling in.
Weatherspoons.
It was a Weatherspoons, yeah, and there was evidence of you because you came out of there with a plastic bag full of wine, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I went to the
Went to the
off-lighters
local,
next door
cost
because we were short of stuff in the dressing room.
Here's one from Lucy who says, David's flat earth hypothesis and other silly theories are cringeworthy. Someone should buy him Carl Sagan's Cosmos on DVD for Christmas. Or alternatively, you could buy our DVD.
You could, yeah, because it's going to be for sale very shortly.
We don't tell you anything about the flat earth on there.
No,
though.
we don't.
But we did fly to New York.
We did.
And we did see the curvature of the earth.
And I saw the curvature of the Earth when I flew on the Concorde.
Yeah.
So I'm actually a first-hand witness to the fact that the Earth is round.
Trouble is, though, you're not much of a witness because most of the stuff you come out with is a lot of old cobblers.
No, you see, that's
that's how you've damaged your credibility factor.
No, that's your just gratuitous insults because you've got nothing better to say.
Now, Chris says that we were
face.
misled when we were told that the pronunciation of that Thai island was Fifi. Apparently, it's Pai.
Yeah, it is Pai.
According to Chris, that's what I said, isn't it?
No. You said
he said
Fifi.
that James Bond island is there from the Scaramanga movie. Remember
is
that?
it?
Well, he must be because that was all shot in Thailand, wasn't it?
That was the worst start to any Bond film, wasn't it?
What?
When a bloke turns up and the only reason is those Scaramanga can stalk him around his magic room and kill him.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that was all right.
Yeah, there was
What was wrong with that then?
It was pathetic because it was so gerrymandered. Really, it was so it was so beyond belief.
Okay. Well, would you like to read out any more some tweets?
Well, old Mark says, "Oh my days! I didn't think people like Callum still existed. The poor blinkered fellow. Well, he's from Sheffield. That explains a lot. Okay.
Well,
and
I don't really want to slag off an entire city.
No. And Manny says, "Where the hell did you guys get this crazy nutter from? The only thing that's flat is this guy's brain." So people are actually offering a lot of insults to these people. And Mrs. Sophie Bradshaw says, "It's such a nice surprise when you guys are on Talk Radio, and I didn't realise you just pop up on my podcasts." Well, you know, we get here, there, and everywhere.
We do. Some people actually quite like the fact that they never know when we're going to be on next, but we're going to be in this spot, in these chairs, at this time for the next couple of weeks because we're filling in for James Whale while he gets himself sorted out. We are the Two Mics. This is Talk Radio.
The 21st Century Dream Team of dialogue, debate and discourse. The Two Mics on Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.
Right, OK, folks, you're listening to the Two Mics. We're in for James Whale. We're on Talk Radio with Pimlico Plumbers, London's leading service company, keeping your home working all day and every day.
Recognise this piece of music?
Is that The Matrix?
It is The Matrix.
Yeah, I thought
Very
it was.
well done.
Yeah, well, I got
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu
Did you
Reeves.
see? You've actually seen The Matrix, then?
No.
You've not? How do you know the music, then?
It's famous music, I know.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm very surprised you know that.
Yeah.
Rob says this, next time you're at the coast, try this. Stare out to sea at the horizon, then scan your eyes repeatedly, very quickly, left to right, from one edge of the horizon to the other, and you will soon start to see a curve.
Well, yeah.
I'll tell you what, you probably do that quite a lot when you're down at Gosport, stand on the edge of the sea after a few pink gins with the commander.
Yeah, I do sometimes.
And your eyes are swiveling about the back of your head, nobody knows which way you're looking.
Funny enough, on the balcony of the yacht club, we do look out to sea. We look past the Isle of Wight, and on a good day, if we get up onto the stanchion, you can almost see France. There's one phenomenon, right, which I've never seen before, except in St. Lucia.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened was, every evening, as we were having a few cocktails and the sun was going down, the owner of the hotel would say, "Come on, let's go down on the beach and watch for the green spot."
The green spot?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we go down on the beach, what is the green spot? And we go down there, and he said, "Right, now stare out to sea," and the sun got lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
And then at the precise moment...
Oh, you mean when it sort of disappears?
At the precise moment, honestly, that the sun disappeared from the horizon, this green spot... like
a flash, almost.
Yeah,
like a green flash.
But it was more like a spot. It wasn't like a flash. And I said, "What was that?" He said, "I don't know. It's just a phenomenon of the Caribbean. It happens when the sun goes out of sight."
Well, I mean,
now, if that's got anything to do with the flat Earth part of the Caribbean, I don't know.
When I was down there once, I was on a yacht, and we were anchored in Bequia, which is a little island off the side of St. Lucia,
right,
on the Windward Islands, I think, when you go down there. And my wife at the time swore that she saw a flying saucer.
A flying saucer? Yeah. Well, a lot of people see flying saucers.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. Anyway, let's talk about things that are slightly more down to earth, because Catherine Williamson is the director of entertainment memorabilia at Bonhams in Los Angeles.
Brilliant.
She joined the book department in 1997, was promoted to department director some years ago, and she's the one who's now responsible for trying to auction off the former Colombo raincoat.
Fantastic.
What a great job.
Colombo's raincoat.
Yeah.
I love it.
Dr. Williamson, a very good evening to you.
Thank you. To you too.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, my colleague, Mr. Mike Parry, to my right here, is a massive Colombo fan. So his interest was very much piqued when he saw this, and he told me that one of the most fascinating things about this coat is that it actually was Peter Falk's own coat when he went in to do the audition.
It was. It was his own coat. I think the producers of the show had a different idea. Columbo was always supposed to wear a raincoat, and their idea was that he would have a trench coat, more like Bogart. And Falk came into the interview in this raincoat. They loved him, and they loved the raincoat too, and it went to work with him and became the iconic raincoat that we know and love.
Golly, that's a piece of folklore, isn't it? Tell me, Doc, how much do you expect to get with this raincoat, and what sort of buyer are you anticipating will go bidding for it?
Well, we put a good, strong estimate on it. We have it in at $80,000 to $120,000 US. I think that I'm hoping that we'll have competition between private collectors, because Columbo is one of those TV shows that appeals kind of across the spectrum of buyers. I hope there's institutional interest, because I really would love to see it in a museum. But, it was on the air for a long time in the 70s. It came back on the air in the 90s. We actually have the coat from the 90s, too. And it's, you can still watch it today. It still has
it's still on. It's still on here every afternoon on one of the channels on TV in this country, and I'm sure in many other countries around the world. But I was going to ask you: is it the only? You say now you've got a coat from the 90s as well, so you've got more than one coat, because you'd normally expect a TV show to have more than one of these coats, wouldn't you?
You would. These are the two that the estate of Peter Falk had. These come directly from his widow, from the estate. So the company may have, the producers may have had other coats as well, but this was the one that personally belonged to him. The original one belonged to him, that he took home at the end of production. The other lot, which is the very next lot, is also the one he took home. We have in the second lot from the 90s. We have the coat, we have a suit, and we have his shoes too.
That's incredible, Doc. Do you know what happened to his car? Because one of the most magnificent props in the Columbo series was the total wreckage of a car he had. He had a Peugeot.
It was a European car, wasn't it?
It was a Peugeot convertible. Nothing on it worked, and bits fell off it all the time. Have you got any idea what might have happened to that car?
I don't. He did not take that home with him at the conclusion of filming. But it's sort of perfect. The suit, the second suit is a European suit. Everything is really beautifully made. It's just worn to death.
Right.
So I didn't understand that when I watched Columbo decades ago. I thought, it's just a schlubby raincoat. But no, it's like a really expensive, really beautiful raincoat that he has just beaten to death, which gives you a completely different outlook on who that guy is.
That's absolutely right. And as part of this particular auction lot, as it were, are there any other sort of fascinating, pieces of memorabilia from TV that you're getting rid of?
Well, so the coat from the 70s comes with a pair of shoes, and those were Falk's shoes. The coat from the 90s comes with a complete suit, with the jacket, pants, shirt, tie, and shoes.
Wow,
that is amazing.
And then we have also several examples of his original artwork. And in his retirement, he really loved to paint and draw. Yeah. And so there are several self-portraits by him, one of which he's in the raincoat. So he's drawn a penciled and self-portrait of himself. A self-portrait as Columbo, which is great.
Right. Yeah, but is there any other stuff like from other shows? I suppose is what I was asking.
There's other TV. We've got a George Reeves Superman.
Oh,
excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Doc. Why
do you call him a doc, by the way?
Well, because it's Doctor. You are a doctor, aren't you, Dr. Williamson? Yes.
a doctor of philosophy.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
You don't like philosophers, do you?
No, I think philosophers are great people. Do you know what would be the ultimate piece of memorabilia for Columbo, Doc? And I bet you haven't got it.
The cigar?
No, his glass eye.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't.
Wouldn't it?
Oh, I don't want to sell that.
Well,
that's a bit distasteful.
No, it's not. No, he had a glass eye,
no,
didn't
I know,
he?
yeah, but still, you don't want to buy somebody's glass eye. What's wrong with you?
Well, no, what I'm saying is that, I mean, he was famous. I mean, I don't think in the series they ever referred to him as only having one eye, did they? But Peter Falk himself did only have one eye, didn't he?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be quite a
thanks
piece
for
of
leaving me
memorabilia,
with that
wouldn't it?
particular image. I mean,
Yeah.
we were having a very nice conversation with Dr. Williamson about, all of this incredible memorabilia.
Yes.
And now you've left me with this image of a glass eye.
Well, no, I mean, it's just a thought.
Horrible.
I mean, I'm sure that obviously it wouldn't happen.
Dr. Williamson, when is the actual auction taking place, in case my colleague, Mr. Parry, who's filthy rich, by the way,
No, I'm not.
may wish to bid for it by telephone?
November 21st
Okay.
in New York City.
Yep.
But call us by at least the day before if you want to register to bid.
We will.
That's excellent.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed,
That is
Doc.
Dr. Catherine Williamson, a doctor of philosophy.
Yes.
I think you'll find. So you don't really normally address doctors of philosophy with the word doc.
Well, I mean, look, I'm trying to be friendly.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Make the
I know.
professor.
You've actually been, considering how belligerent you were at the start of the show, the Flat Earth Brigade have actually calmed you down.
No.
I sense that you're actually one of them, but you're just trying to hide it very well.
No, I have sympathy for people who have an ingrained belief in something which is impossible because I think they've got, they've got
you believe in
psychological
God, don't you?
problems. Sorry?
You believe in God?
I believe in, funny enough, I'm with David on this, and I believe in a creator.
Really?
Okay?
Right.
Which I think is a very good way of putting it.
You're not going to tell us what you think he is?
I've always said I believe in the Almighty
yes.
because, where did we come from, where do we go to, and all that kind of stuff. And I thought the way he put it, a creator, was actually a very... very prescient way of explaining it.
Here's one from Iron Lion. Does Porky the Christian believe the Bible teaches flat earth theory? And he quotes from 1 Chronicles, verses 16 to 30.
Yeah.
He has fixed the earth firm, immovable. And Psalm 104, thou didst fix the earth on its foundation so that it can never be shaken.
Yes, but that was nothing to do with the physical presence of the earth. That was to do about the moral fibre of the earth. Believe me.
I see.
That was nothing to do with the physicality
All
of
right.
it. I studied the Bible, so I know these things.
Yeah, I know you do. Let's talk to Ian. He's in Southampton.
Right.
Because he's got a view on whether the earth is flat. Ian, a very good evening to you. Welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Mike. I'm actually in Poole in Dorset, but
are you?
I do support Southampton.
I beg your pardon. Well, since we live on the flat earth, that's not really much of a problem, is it?
It's you're hearing this sort of information probably for the first time in any sort of capacity where more than one person said it. So for you guys and like with everybody else, the first and main reactions that you have are, God, don't be so stupid. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Or whatever.
It's not actually the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen or heard, but carry on. I've been doing radio shows for many years.
What I mean? Just going back, the film you were talking about was The Truman Show.
It was indeed. You're quite right. Yeah, but remember that bit where he goes off in the storm, or he doesn't go off in the storm, but they try and stop him from escaping, and they manufacture the storm, and then he hits the wall at the end because there is no horizon. It's when he suddenly discovers that he is not, in fact, in a real environment.
Well, up until 3 years ago, I thought exactly the same as you and exactly the same as everybody else. And when someone would have mentioned it to me, I would have said exactly the same thing. You're absolutely crazy. And for whatever reason, I have no idea, I decided to have a look into the subject, probably to the fact that I thought it's so ridiculous. Let's go and have a look. And then you actually really, if you study it and if you start to do and realise what it could be rather than what I believe you are conditioned to be or to believe. And I think you're conditioned at a very early age that, we live on a
You're making that
ball,
assumption, though, which you shouldn't do about people.
I know, it's only in retrospect. I mean, obviously it is an assumption, but it's retrospectively trying to fit some pieces together as to why the subject of the Earth being flat has such an issue with so many people.
Well, it's because it's rubbish, that's why it's an issue. But Ian, the point... No, hang on a second before you go any further, because you are what I would describe as, the calm and rational type of conspiracy theorist, right? Who, because you're calm and rational, think that it sounds like it's more normal. But actually, it's no more normal than what the guy in Sheffield was saying, or what the madman from the Flat Earth Society was saying. Because it is crazy talk.
Well, I think if you can look at various experiments done by scientific people. Look at things like Aries failure. Look at things from Samuel Rowbotham. Look at things with these names.
So you've obviously spent a great deal of time on all of this. I don't know who those people are.
No, and this is the problem. I'm not saying the subject is based full of ignorance, but the subject is based full of ignorance, and that's it. And
you've just said it.
In my heart.
But
Ian, does this go back to the original theory that maybe we are all just a figment of each other's imaginations?
Christ.
Hey, everything's up for grabs. Listen, 3 years ago, I thought we were living on a spinning ball, zooming through infinite space. I don't think that anymore. I think something completely different. So it's a profound thing for many people.
Do you think a tree makes a noise when it falls down in a forest if there's no human being there to hear it?
How would you know, Mike? Simple as that.
Well, it's easy. It's easy. It's easy. What you do is you put a microphone on the tree next door, right? Then
Who cares, Mike? Who cares?
Then you get some way of.
Well, it wouldn't work in the New Forest, would it? Because there's no trees there.
There's no trees in the New Forest. That's right. But Ian, if we're all a figment of each other's imagination, then we presumably build the world order as it is.
I mean, Mike, like I say, up until 3 years ago, I thought exactly the same as you. I thought exactly the same as you would, at this subject being the most ridiculous thing. It's changed me because I've decided to go and have a look for myself. What have
you found?
Well, I found things that my belief system has changed in the fact that I used to believe we were a spinning ball zooming through space. I used to believe in infinite galaxies and all the stuff and everything else. And then I realised that once I've gone back into that, it's part of the conditioning since you're born that you're told at a very, very early age that the Earth is this and these are the planets and this is blah blah.
Yeah, and that's because the Earth is round. That's why you're told it's round, because it is round. Yeah. You know, it's like that's why you're told that your tie is blue because it's blue.
Yeah, what I'm saying about the conditioning side of it is, after a while, your eyes either glaze over or you go and study the subject.
But the trouble with your explanation, Ian, is that you're talking as if everybody has just been sort of cracked out of an egg, and they've been given a set of instructions to follow, and that nobody's ever actually given anything any thought. Because you have come to this relatively late in life and decided to start questioning your very existence and where we all are and where we're all going, it doesn't mean that everybody else is as ignorant as that in the early part of their life. So you shouldn't assume, as many people in your position do, that nobody has ever bothered to check anything else out, and we all just sit here like lemmings waiting to be told when to jump off the cliff.
Well, that's fine, but I mean, it's not the case that you haven't gone and looked at what the so-called scientists
some of us have been on a journey of discovery. Some of us have been on a journey of discovery all our life.
100%. I agree with you 100%. What I'm saying to you, though, is after a while you stop questioning what they tell you and you believe it to be
who are
true.
they? Do you think the lizard people are running the world as well?
If you're talking about scientists for now, for example, and you're saying that the Earth is round and this is science and the accepted model is that we're zooming around the sun. We're zooming around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and the sun's taking the entire galaxy at colossal, ridiculous speeds.
Why does it matter to you? Why does it matter to you? Does it matter? I mean, where do you live? Where do you live? In Poole, right?
In Poole,
in Poole, yeah.
So Poole, you live near Sandbanks.
You know Sandbanks, Mike?
I know Sandbanks very well. It's a great place.
I don't live there.
You don't live there, no.
Very few people do.
But you live in Poole, and it doesn't matter to you whether the Earth is round or flat, because actually Poole is Poole. It always will be Poole. It's just along from Bournemouth, and you can travel down into Dorset and go to the Jurassic Coast, which is a very historical place.
And also, if the Earth was flat, you wouldn't need a chain on that ferry either.
No.
But because
I have a business in Swanage, Mike.
Yeah, it's a very nice place. Listen, we've got lots of people to get on here. I appreciate your call.
Can I just finish, Mike?
Well, hurry up, because we've got to talk to a colleague of yours in Wales.
You were saying, what does it matter? It might not matter to most people, but I think the deception for me, and if you ever get the flat Earth truth, the deception of what's happened is the issue for me, and I want to know why I've been lied to.
Yeah, but you're just a conspiracy theorist. You're a tinfoil hat-wearing maniac, Ian. Let's talk to Martin, who's in Wales. Martin, are you wearing a tinfoil hat as well?
No, I don't, Mike. Hi, Mike. Hi, Dogger Mike.
Yeah, hello, mate.
Good evening.
Yep.
Whereabouts in Wales are you, man?
Smoky Dragon, Cardiff.
Cardiff. Very nice. I see there's a place down there that's not going to sell booze to people until they've given them a breathalyser test. You see that story?
I saw that, yeah.
You know where that shop is?
In the slightest.
Yeah.
That would not surprise me. Probably for the best, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't know whether you've been at the grog this evening, but what do you want to tell us?
I don't drink. I haven't drunk in 20 years.
Very good,
really?
man.
We don't pollute our bodies with chemicals. We know better.
Yeah,
well,
that's
no,
right.
no, hang on. Are you a former drunk then who gave it up?
No, not at all. I've never really been a drinker.
Really?
Not that type of
Oh,
person.
dear me, you've missed so much in life, pal. You really
I
have.
don't really
Porky's
do
not
that contemporary sort of lifestyle, which we're all so akin to. I just don't do that.
If I were you, I'd take it up, mate. It'll change your life
Yeah,
for the
it could
better.
do, yeah. You might see the world in a different light.
So anyway, what do you want to tell us? What do you want to tell us?
Well, I'm a flat earther. Have been for 3 years. My name's Martin Litka. Flat Earth British on YouTube. I just want to thank brother Ian, who was just on before.
Your brother? Is he your brother?
We're all brothers. You are my brothers too.
No, I'm not your brother.
All right, you're not a man, are you?
Hey?
You a man?
I am a man, yeah, but that's a very
You're my
personal
brother,
question. I don't identify as a man, though.
All right, then. Well, let's just get to the point.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Well, one of you, Mike's got a sense of the creator. Well, this is what I've got. I've got a sense of the creator, okay? I feel an intelligent design. I think the evidence is everywhere in the golden ratio or the Fibonacci sequence or a whole number of things. Just take a look at a tree. It replicates itself with sacred geometry. This geometry, this harmonic resonance to the way reality is cannot be ignored. Now, I don't pretend to know anything of what's going on about reality. But what I can say is this heliocentric model they sold us, once you research into it, I was exactly the same as you two boys there now, right?
No, you've never been exactly like us, Martin.
All right, I wasn't, but I thought it was the biggest load of nutty shit I'd ever heard.
Now, excuse me, it's a family show. It's a family show. Don't get carried away, all right?
Okay, right. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock, 9:20.
It is 9:20, yeah, we'll let you go with that, but try not to do it again. We've only got a very short amount of time, Martin, as well, so make it snappy.
Okay, well, it's the non-understanding of the heliocentric model, you see. I know you defend it without understanding it, but once you dive into it, do the research...
How do you know we're not part of it, though? Eh? How do you know we're not part of the gatekeeping community?
One of your colleagues said that you went on Concorde and witnessed the curvature.
Yeah.
Yet Google tells you have to be higher than a V2 bomber at 72,000 feet to even witness.
Google,
that's
right. Yeah, but Google, Martin,
that's not really possible.
Google is not the answer. Google.
Window.
Listen, Martin, I've got some bad news for you, mate. Google is not the answer to everything.
No,
Sometimes
I'm aware
you have
of
to
that.
actually experience things by yourself.
You cannot witness a curvature from an airplane. That is a fact.
Well, you're
Commercial
wrong.
Jet, you could not
No,
witness
you're
it, not
absolutely
even
wrong.
You come from the Concorde. You can, Martin, because I've been on it. And listen, mate, never mind about the flat Earth. What about the inner Earth theory that you guys follow as
Isn't
well?
that the Hobbit?
Well, I haven't got a clue what's down there. None of us have. They've only ever been 8 kilometres down. They've only drilled the Cobra mine in Russia. That's as far as they have been down. There'd be no deeper. We don't know what's down there. No one does. Or what they say.
What about the Mariana
Hang on,
Trench?
if it's a flat Earth, it's pretty deep, isn't it? If it's 8 kilometres down.
Yeah, if there's a flat Earth, how can you explain the Mariana Trench?
Yeah.
But you know what, Martin? We'll come back to this because we haven't got
Yeah.
time to get your answer, I'm afraid,
Yeah.
because we've got to go. We've got loads more to do. We've got to go down to Sandra Lee down in Australia.
Definitely.
We've got Porkyvision to do. We've got more calls to take. We are, of course, the two mics.
more nutters,
0344. What?
No more nutters.
There are not nutters out there.
No,
there are only callers, listeners to the show.
Okay.
499 1000 is the number. This is Talk Radio.
Across the UK, online and on DAB.
The two mics on Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal
Yeah.
there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't their previous series.
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's the problem?
That music can only mean one thing. It is, of course, time for Porkyvision, the weekly look at what's going on the television on screen. And I imagine you're very excitable this week because Peaky Blinders, I believe, is kicking off sometime soon.
Utterly fantastic.
But, of course, you won't be able to put that in your Porkyvision because you can't have watched it yet.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put it anyway.
Unless you've been given an early peek.
It starts tomorrow night, OK?
Yes.
Peaky Blinders, BBC 2, 9 p.m. Killian...
Well, hang on.
Eh?
You can't tell people to watch that. That's
of course
when we're
you
on the radio.
No, sorry?
No, we're on the radio at 9 p.m.
I'm going to advise everybody to do what I'm going to do because I'm going to be on the radio, and that is to record it
Quite
and watch it after 10 o'clock,
just watch it on the iPlayer.
Or watch it on the iPlayer.
Yeah.
But the thing
Don't
is...
watch it at 9 o'clock.
Don't watch it at 9 o'clock. It lasts for 1 hour till 10 o'clock. And just think of the thrill of listening to MG and I right up till 10 o'clock
Absolutely
and then thinking, wow,
Can't think
now
of
I'm going to
anything
watch
better.
something on telly which is almost as good as listening to two mics on Talk Radio. Utterly fantastic, OK?
And now I've seen the trailer, which looks as though the series is going to sort of kick on into an even further. Because am I right in saying that at the end of the last series, It was when he basically gave everybody up to the cops.
What he did is he sold his whole family down the river, but he said to them, the parting words were, "It's for the good. It'll be better in the future." What he had to do is he had to basically shaft the whole of his family.
But they looked at him as if he'd betrayed them all.
Yeah, and do a deal. But he hasn't. An isolated Tommy Shelby, who of course is played by Cillian Murphy, presides over his crime empire with ever-increasing power and even a veneer of respectability. He's got an OBE. He's been awarded an OBE because he did work for Mr. Winston Churchill, okay?
Right.
He's managed to blackmail out of the government. It's not so long before he has to get his hands dirty again in every sense for fear that otherwise he'll be lost. But he's got to do the deal to get his family back, okay?
Right.
And it's fantastic stuff. And I can't tell you too much about it. I don't want to ruin it for you. But, I mean, it is easily the most brilliant TV series of recent years.
We certainly have had a few tweets in early on today saying, please don't let Porky give away the ending of the new Peaky Blinders series.
Well, don't worry.
Is it 6 or 7 episodes, I guess, we've got coming?
What?
Is it about 6 or 7 episodes we've got coming?
What, the new series?
Yeah.
8.
Is it 8?
8.
Ooh,
8.
How exciting.
Now, then, I'm going to compare that with something that I've seen last night.
Oh, yeah.
Was it last night or the night before?
I don't know.
Can't remember.
Well, I don't know when you saw it.
But it was called...
I don't live with you.
It was called Howard's End.
Howard's End.
And it was utter rubbish.
Is that not an old movie?
Well, let me tell you, the movie was Emma Thompson, who I think is so brilliant. I think she wrote the script as well.
She's a great actress, yeah.
Well, she's a great actress. She is a great talent in the cinema, and I think she wrote the screenplay. In fact, she might have even won an Oscar for it or something. I think she won an award for writing
Howard's
the screen.
End.
Yeah, I think so.
Possibly,
yeah, something like that.
Very
yeah,
possibly.
And she is a brilliant
very
woman.
much a Renaissance woman.
She is, and she was at either Cambridge or Oxford University. I think she was footlights at Cambridge, wasn't she, or something like that.
So,
you know.
Yeah.
But I draw a line when she goes onto TV shows and pontificates about, how the Earth's going to be 4.5 degrees hotter in 20 years' time.
Well, she's a bit of a champagne socialist, isn't
Any
she?
scientific evidence, But anyway, nevertheless, to give it to her, she made that film brilliant, okay? Yeah. Now, the point is, they've made it into a TV series. And it was written by E.M. Foster, the novel, right?
Yes, E.M. Forster.
So E.M. Forster.
The guy who wrote Passage to India.
Passage to India.
Yeah.
And somebody had to put that into a film script, and that was Emma Thompson, I'm pretty sure. I might got that wrong. If I've got that wrong, can somebody ring me up and let me know? But I think it is right.
I think you're right.
Yeah, okay. Now, the thing is, they've got big-name stars in the TV adaptation. Matthew McFadden and... Matthew McFadden.
Yeah.
And Hayley Atwell. Okay?
Hayley Atwell, yeah.
Yeah. Now then, let me tell you where this goes. I was watching it, obviously, live, right?
Yeah.
And the great hope was that this would be the successor to Downton Abbey, okay?
Uh-huh.
In a big way. Now, let me tell you. The situation... Because Downton Abbey was on commercial TV, wasn't it?
Downton Abbey was on ITV.
That's right. That's exactly what I'm saying. So the BBC hoped that this would smash the myth of Downton Abbey.
Right.
Now, where...
What, Howard's End?
Howard's End, yeah.
I didn't realise. I thought it was a film. So you're saying it's a series?
It's a TV series,
okay.
you oaf. Why do you think I'm reviewing it?
Well, first of all, you said you didn't know when you watched it. Second of all, you didn't tell me. You didn't give it any kind of frame of reference.
No, just listen.
All right, I'm trying.
It used to be a film, and I told you it used to be a film starring Emma Thompson. Told you that 3 times.
Yeah, well, I thought you were telling me that she was in the series that you saw.
No, she's not in the TV series at all, you idiot. She was in the film, and the film was
very
clear. Good.
You're not being very
now,
clear.
the point, I've just told you who's in the TV series, Matthew McFadden and and Hayley Atwell. Atwell.
Mabel Lucy Atwell.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Now, the proof of the pudding for us TV reviewers is this.
Go on.
We have a meter, right?
Meter?
A meter. A meter.
Oh, like a meter of fish?
No. Like a meter of people watching.
Eh?
A meter of people watching.
Oh, do you mean something that garnishes the audience?
Yes.
Well, that tells you how many people are watching.
Yes, people watching. Right.
Okay.
Now, this started at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the anticipation for it was huge.
Okay.
And at the start of it, there were 7.8 million people watching.
Right.
By the end of it, 1 hour later, there were 5.08 million people watching.
Okay, so they lost about a third of their audience.
They lost nearly 3 million.
Well, yeah, about a third of their audience.
About a third of the audience. Yeah. About a third of the audience.
So a third of their audience doesn't work.
So, now you ask a question, why? Why is this?
Well, presumably they didn't like it.
They didn't like it, that's right. It's good,
well
deduced.
Well, thank you very much.
Right.
See, that's why they pay me the big bucks for being the media titan that I am.
Exactly. Now then, the point is that it was just too confusing. So what happens is, Howard's End is a big house in the country.
Yes.
But in those days, when this was set in sort of like the 1904, I think, is the year it's set. Okay.
04.
04, yeah, 1904.
So
right.
it's at the turn of the century, sort of just post-Victorian.
Turn of the century, and you can tell it's a turn of the century because London streets are, on the one hand, populated with hansom cabs being drawn by horses.
Yes.
But on the other hand, there are
Gas
motor cars.
lights.
No, there are motor cars chugging around. Okay?
That's that a bit early, though, for 1904?
No, that was 1904. That
Really?
was 1904, yeah.
Sure?
Definitely, yeah. Well, it could have been 1914, come to think of it.
Well, I mean, motorised carriages.
It wasn't 1914 because that was the start of the First World War.
Yes.
So it's about 1910.
Right, okay, let's go for that. Yeah, it's a
about
happy
1910.
medium.
Okay.
Have you noticed the lights changing in here, by the way?
Yeah, they do. They change colour, don't they? Yeah, very nice.
Does that put
Now
you
then,
off?
the point is, they've done it, and they thought this was uniquely different through the eyes of the postman.
The postman?
So they live in Eaton Square, right? The family
okay.
I
thought it was a country house.
But no. The family is so wealthy, they've got like Eaton Square in London, or Chester Square, Eaton or Chester, one of the two.
All right.
I prefer Chester because I come from Chester.
I prefer Eaton Square.
And what they do is they compare life in the city with life at Howard's End.
Okay.
Because Howard's End is the country estate.
I get it.
And to get down there, you can chug down in the car in 2 hours.
And is it meant to be in the West Country then, or?
No, it's meant to be in somewhere like Sussex, actually, where you live, something like that.
Okay.
Now, what they do is they do it through the eyes of the postman. So what they show is they show this postman guy going around delivering letters in Eaton Square.
Right.
And then it's like a two-sided studio. You've got the door this side, and he puts the letter in.
Yeah.
Then immediately flashes to the other side of the door.
Okay.
Somebody takes the letter out of the wicker basket that it falls into.
Okay.
That's what they do in rich houses. Yeah. And they open it, and then they read it aloud. And as they're reading it aloud...
But isn't there a servant taking the letter at the other side?
Sometimes the servant does.
Right.
But sometimes the householder themselves...
Okay.
Here's the letter dropping through the letterbox
Right.
and goes and picks it up.
Okay.
So they open it and they read it aloud, and they're reading about events at Howard's End.
Oh, I see.
And so then...
They haven't got phones then, presumably.
They probably have, but they don't talk a lot on phones.
Why not?
They write letters to each other all the time.
Oh, that must take ages.
So anyway, then it flashes to Howard's End, and the person in London reading the letter is then describing the activities at Howard's End from the letter writer's point of view, but they've got all the characters in Howard's End walking around the fields and all this kind of stuff. You know?
So the narrator almost becomes the narrator of what's going on down there.
The person reading the letter becomes the narrator.
I see.
But then you get the postman down in the country delivering a letter down there.
Yes.
And they open it and they do reverse. You see what I mean?
Right.
And this keeps
Sounds
going
a
on.
bit tedious.
Tedious, confusing, boring,
slow,
right. No great plot, nothing like that. You know,
to me, Gunpowder was like that, except with
no,
torture.
Gunpowder's brilliant.
No, because the first one was so put me off because of the grisly
The
nature
gore,
of the gory kind of execution scenes.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the other two.
No, I did. I think it was brilliant. You know how it ended, by the way, for old.
Well, yeah, Guy Fawkes gets caught.
Ah, yeah, but that's not the end of it. Old Guido is up on the ladder, right, with the rope round his neck.
Yeah, but he fell off, didn't he?
No, he jumped off.
No, he jumped off.
Jumped off to save himself being hung,
but
drawn,
we know
and
that
quartered.
because it's historical, so we know that happened.
Yeah, but it was very.
I mean, if you're going to watch a show about Guy Fawkes, you know how it ends.
Yeah. It was all Guido's fault in the end, because when he heard them battering on the door, he hesitated in lighting the gunpowder. If he'd lit it then, he would have blown Parliament up and blown himself up as well, and saved himself quite a lot of torture, you know.
Hey, listen to this, right?
Pete
has tweeted us at the Two Mics. He said, Peaky Blinders is on tomorrow at 9 p.m. I'm going to spoil it for Porky by telling him the ending.
Yeah, please, go on.
Well, he's not going to do it now. He's going to do it tomorrow.
I know the ending. I know the ending.
You already know it?
Yeah, I know the ending. I know
Is it one of these that the BBC are going to let you watch them all? Because, you know, Gunpowder was like that.
Yes.
You could watch all three if you wanted.
Well, Riviera was like that on my new smart TV.
But that's not BBC.
No, well, I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you that. But all I can tell you is that...
When does this Howard's End thing end?
Well, it's ended for me now. I'm not going to watch the next episode.
So you're not recommending it?
No, I'm not recommending it at all.
In other words?
It's absolutely boring. I would not recommend it at all because it's too confusing and there doesn't seem to be a plot at all.
Really?
It's not like there's any Rogerisation going on.
No.
You know, nobody's
That's disappointing.
Yeah,
in fact, if it's a BBC, I'm surprised.
Yeah,
because that seems to be their new thing, doesn't it?
However, other things I have watched include... let me see. Was there something else I watched? No, I can't actually remember watching anything else
Really?
because I've been too busy.
Well, that's okay, because we're nearly out of time.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I started watching last night, and I'm going to
Yes.
maybe watch a couple more episodes
Yes.
tonight. There's a new Spanish kind of crime thriller
Really?
type series.
Yeah, what's it called?
It's called something like I Saw Who You Were, or I Know Who You Are, or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's on BBC 4,
Oh.
which is very good for this kind of thing, because I've previously watched Spiral, which is a French series,
Okay.
which is very good.
Okay.
This one is Spanish.
It's on Netflix.
No, BBC 4, so it's on the
BBC4.
iPlayer.
Oh, I see.
You know how the iPlayer works, right?
Yeah, I know the iPlayer
You go on to, and you can choose by genre.
Yeah,
You
genre,
can
yeah,
choose by subject.
I know all that.
You can choose by
Now,
channel.
Okay, I tell you one thing I have watched, Porridge. And that gets worse.
Well, the new one?
Yeah, it gets worse
Yeah,
by the
yeah, I
episode.
can't- I'm not gonna watch
I mean, with a ridiculous plot, they're throwing pigeons over the walls stuffed full of drugs, okay?
Well,
I
that
mean,
happens in
don't-
real life.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But don't you think the prison authorities are wise to that, you know?
Well, no, but they did it for a long time.
Yeah, I know.
And nobody knew.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're out of time, fortunately,
Yeah,
so we
and,
can't talk any more about that.
Okay, well, there's lots of other things I could tell you about,
Yeah.
but we've just run out of time.
Save them for
So
the
I
next.
can't
Save
tell
them for the
you.
next Porkyvision.
Can't tell you.
That was Porkyvision.
Yeah,
We
it
are the
was.
two mics.
Yeah.
Coming up next, we're
Yeah.
going to talk to Sandra Lee down under.
Across the UK, online and on DAB.
The Two Mics on Talk Radio. We'll get you
Course for James Whale, and we're here until James Whale is able to return after he has some surgery, which he's going to have going on sometime in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah, we hope
he
so.
was kind of hinting, was he not, the other day when we had him on yesterday, last night. Maybe he was going into the jungle, because we now
Well,
know who's going into the jungle. We're
he
pretty sure it's
teased
not
us,
him.
didn't he? Teased us.
He did a little bit, yeah. Now, here's something from someone called Brexit Watch. He says, only if you'll explain how a ship disappears over a horizon, only to reappear when using a high-powered zoom lens. Does light bend now, or perhaps the zoom can see through the wall of water? See, this is interesting, because what happens in these situations, right, is that lots of people who believe one thing always have the same answers to all the same questions, because they're all reading the same websites.
No, it's true.
And all the conspiracy theorists all kind of clubbed together.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jim says, yes, not a medical doctor, though. I've got a doctorate, but I don't mind if Porky calls me Doc.
Exactly.
So, there you go. Now, let's talk to our very good friend Sandra Lee. She's our favourite Australian. Some
Absolutely.
great stories down there
Yeah,
at the moment.
certainly
Sandra,
are.
a very, very good evening to you.
G'day, chaps. How are you going?
Very well indeed.
Very well indeed.
Now,
and,
I know that
all the better for hearing
it's
from
a
you.
slightly early shout for you, this, because you're out walking the dog, I think, this morning, aren't you?
Well, I'm back now. I was out walking the dog because you got the time wrong.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, well, you
If
can't
were
expect
1
him.
hour out,
Sandra, don't
Well,
expect him to
I
get
mean,
anything
it
right.
It wouldn't be me that got the time wrong. It'd probably be Porky, I would imagine. But my many apologies if we've inconvenienced you. But listen, never mind all that. What about this Lord of the Flies island, the Murder Island, over near Perth, I think it is, where they've discovered all these bodies?
Yeah, they've discovered over 120 skeletons that were murdered back in the early 1600s. It's an incredible story. It's been around for, it's been known since way back then. And in fact, it was the Dutch were on an expedition to sell some gold and silver in what was then known as Batavia and is now known as Indonesia. And they shipwrecked, and there was a mutiny by the shipwreckees.
And so, when you say that it's been known about, why has it sort of come to light now? There was a documentary done on it, or a news story done on it?
There was a documentary done on one of the American television shows, and in fact what's happened is that all the skeletons have been dug up now. They've been finding the skeletons over the last couple of years, and they've found a mass grave where about 120 bodies, men, women and children, were buried by some of the mutineers. So it's an incredible story, and it was happened well before Australia was even settled. So it was the Dutch on their way in one of their sort of great expeditions.
So it was before Captain Cook, was it?
It was about 100 years before, 120 or 150 years before Captain Cook.
Well, I tell you what, that's good news, because at least we won't get blamed for that. You know, the British Empire and all that went round the world, terrorising everybody. At least we didn't. It was the Dutch. I always knew it was the damn Dutch.
So this is great for you, but why are they kind of making it out to sound like it was like Lord of the Flies? Because when I first read that, when I think of Lord of the Flies, I think of sort of, pre-adolescent boys kind of, being very, very cruel to one another, but it doesn't sound like that.
No, it wasn't anything like that at all. It was grown men who were doing sort of the massacre, and one of them is said to have been a psychopath who was eventually caught and executed in Indonesia, then known as Batavia, for his crimes. So it wasn't, I think it was just some journalist caught onto a quick sort of, a sound bite or a grab to describe it as the modern-day Lord of the Flies or an ancient Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope he came to a grisly end. Now, Sandra, we're going to talk to you in a minute about the wallaby being under threat down there, but much, much more recently than that. In fact, only today, we're reading about a British doctor who thumped a shark in the nose, in the face, and saved himself from being eaten.
He did. He's incredible. He actually took inspiration from one of Australia's greatest surfers, Nick Fanning, who, as you will remember, we spoke about this before. We did. He thumped a shark in the nose off the coast of South Africa.
Oh, of course, I remember that,
Yeah, so this young British doctor who's out here as an accident and emergency doctor in one of the hospitals on the central coast of New South Wales was out surfing yesterday morning our time, so just 24 hours ago, and a great white, a 3-metre great white, came up and tried to have a crack at him, and he turned around, saw the shark's head coming out of the water at him, and he thumped it on the nose, and the shark took off.
Golly, that's incredible. 3 metres long.
To have a presence of mind
like
like that.
That's bigger than this studio, right?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And what he says as well, he saw the shark's head come out of the water with its teeth. So he was actually staring literally into the jaws of death.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And he was actually hurt. He was bitten. The teeth actually made contact with this chap on his shoulder and his arm, so he had some puncture wounds from the shark. He was lucky enough that a wave came, and the 3 surfers, including this chap, they all got on the wave and surfed into the shore without any further injury.
Yeah.
Later on, the surf lifesavers sort of got on their jet skis, found the shark and herded it out to sea.
And this happened in a place called Avoca Beach, 60 miles north of Sydney. Do you know that beach? Does it have shark nets?
Yeah, it's a very, very popular beach because it's so close to Sydney, to the city, and it's not known for sharks up there, so it doesn't have shark nets at all. So it's a bit of a surprise when that great white pops up there at this time of year. It's pretty unusual.
That's a huge presence of mind. Just as a sort of associated story with that, by the way, Sandra, we've had a story in Europe this week about a surfer off the coast of Portugal, who rode the biggest wave ever recorded there, 60 feet high, and who was tipped off his board, and he said, hitting the sea, when you come off a board 60 feet up on a wave, you're hitting concrete, and yet somehow he survived. He broke his neck, and he's in hospital, but he survived.
Good grief. That's incredible. You've got to be incredibly either crazy or brave to do that, don't you?
Yeah, well, exactly. And there's video footage of the wave curling itself around the top of him. You think you'll never see this guy again. But you probably see that down on Bondi every day of the week.
Not that big, that's for sure. If waves that big were coming in, I think all of Bondi Beach would be wiped out.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Now then, Sandra, what about the poor little wallaby? It looks like the wallaby's under threat. And I have to say, when I was in Australia, I was in Perth, and we went down the coast and all that. Those little wallabies are very attractive creatures.
You don't have to go to Australia to see wallabies, though. You can see them in Golders Hill Park in North London.
I don't care. The true Australian wallaby lives in Australia. Is that not right, Sandra?
That's true, and they're cute little mammals. They're adorable little things. This is the Mailer wallaby, which is also known as a rufous wallaby, but it is under threat of extinction. There's only about 400 of them left in all of Australia, and they've been wiped out by feral cats and feral foxes.
This is disgraceful.
So well, yes, it's pretty. And considering that those feral cats and feral foxes were introduced species, and they've taken out pretty much about 30 other native species, which is sad. Some scientists have managed to get 4 pairs of these little wallabies, and they're putting them in a sanctuary and hoping to grow them to a massive population of about 18,000. So fingers crossed it works, because otherwise, within another few years, they will be completely extinct.
See, that's terrible.
Well, I don't know why you're going on about this. Surely this is nature's pruning fork.
No, it's not nature's pruning fork. Surely the Australian authorities have an absolute duty, don't they? I mean, imagine if the kangaroo was about to be wiped out.
Well, a lot of people would be voting for that.
Well, no, but there'd be a national, international outrage, wouldn't there? Because these are unique animals.
Well, they're rodents.
No, they're not.
They are. They're massive rodents, giant rodents, all they are.
Sandra, you live there. Tell us what the feeling is
Look,
about.
kangaroos are not massive rodents.
Exactly.
Well, what are they then?
Shame on you. They're on our coat of arms. Australians love our rodents.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hang on, though. What about the one that attacked the bloke that was trying to give them a cream tea? Do you remember that guy? It was last week, I think. He said that he gave strawberry jam and cream to kangaroos every morning.
Yeah.
And then one morning they came in and they beat him up.
Well, that's good. He's an idiot, and he should know to.
Well, I thought last time we spoke, Sandra, you were always telling us about how much of a pest the kangaroo has become.
Well, some of the pets, they are a pest in some parts of Australia, and there is an annual kangaroo cull to keep the numbers down because they do sort of ruin parts of the vegetation. However, I'm with Porky. Australians would absolutely be outraged if there was an overall threat to them as a species.
I totally agree with you, and it must never happen because it's such a unique animal, unique to your landmass. Now, also, your government's run into a bit of trouble here, hasn't it, Sandra? Because Mr. Turnbull has now somehow managed to lose whatever small majority he had in the House, hasn't he? Because he didn't get his figures right.
He has indeed, and in fact what's happened in Australia is that we have in our constitution a prohibition against dual citizens being members of the federal parliament, and in the last few weeks, in September, there's been scores of them coming up and saying, we're either British or Canadian or American dual citizens with Australia, and of course they've all had to go to the High Court. A couple of them were even the more curious case. One chap's grandmother, who is Italian, actually put in for his citizenship for Italian as an Italian citizen. Yeah. He had no idea. So he went to the High Court, and the High Court said that foreign countries and relatives can't actually nominate you as a citizen of another country without your permission or knowledge. So he sailed through, but the numbers now in government are very, very precarious. But it's not just in the Liberal Party, in the ruling government. The Labor Party have exactly the same situation, and as do the Independents.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I mean, they're not in as much trouble as our government, by the sounds of it. I mean, we've got a much more chaotic situation here with Brexit than you've got over there, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, well, I would say most people here are saying it is pretty chaotic, and it's been a goat rodeo of government for the last several years, actually, before this government and the Labor Party beforehand. So I think that Western democracy is seriously all around the world seeing the same sort of chaos.
It really is,
I totally agree.
I like goat rodeo. I think we should use that.
And do you know what? The amazing thing is, you will know this, Sandra, because you're a woman of letters and reading and political philosophy, but most of the governments in Europe run on coalitions, whereas we think in this country, in the United Kingdom, unless Mrs. May gets a 50 or 60 seat majority, then she's hopelessly unable to run anything. Germany and Italy have run on coalitions for the last 25, 30 years.
They have. That's exactly right. Now, I would imagine that a lot of people would think of the Italian government in the last sort of few decades as being also chaotic.
Yes, exactly. That's right. Yeah. So, sometimes you wonder what it's all about.
We had a coalition a while ago, didn't we? That didn't go down too well.
No, it didn't go down too well at all.
The Lib Dems in charge with Nick Clegg.
That's right. Cleggy.
Anyway, listen, Sandra, delightful to talk to you at this early hour of the morning. I'm sorry we got the time wrong. Did we get it wrong in 1 hour direction before or after?
No, 1 hour after, so it's absolutely no problem, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Great.
And to yourself as well.
Maybe we'll catch up with you at the same time next week then. That'd be tremendous.
Yeah, lovely.
Sounds lovely.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Sandra Lee there, our favourite Australian, a colleague of ours from our days in New York City, of course.
Yeah.
If you're interested, we have now got a certification. We should make this announcement gladly.
Yes.
For our new DVD. It's 15, like last year's, and it will be for sale immediately. This show is over. So head to our Two Mikes website and you can order one.
It's interesting, actually, because, there's a massive process that goes into producing these DVDs, and then you get the endorsement from the British Board of Film Censors. That's all done.
Yeah.
So we've had so far like a soft launch on the DVD.
Sure.
Because we want people to buy it and enjoy it, but we had to make absolutely sure we are on the right side of the law, which we always are.
Of course we are, yeah.
Except when it comes to the licensing laws, we're sometimes on the wrong side of the
I've
law.
never been on the wrong side of the law.
You've never been to a lock-in?
No, I don't believe I have.
Oh, rubbish. Come off it. What, they're down in Wiltshire, where they don't even close the pubs till 2 in the morning?
Listen,
lock the doors and all that.
What do you think? I mean, I've had young children for the best part of the last 20-odd years, right?
Yeah.
You think that I just spend my life sitting around in pubs getting locked in and getting bladderated?
Yeah, I do.
No, you're absolutely wrong about
Anyway,
that.
back to the DVD. It is now on sale.
Yeah, but I've already told them that.
The2mics.co.uk. Go to our website and please allow a few days for delivery because the demand has been enormous and we haven't actually announced it for sale yet.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
But,
Now, coming up
but
on
get
the
in
show...
there as soon as you can,
Yeah, all right.
and you'll get one as early as possible.
Yes, indeed, and certainly in time for Christmas. Now, coming up tomorrow...
Oh, no, you get it in like 10 days.
Yeah, no,
Don't worry about
to
that.
get it for Christmas, that's the
Yeah,
point.
but Christmas is 5 weeks away. You get it loads of time.
No, I know that. I said certainly in time for Christmas.
If you want it as a present to give to somebody at Christmas, you've got a good 3-week window of opportunity.
Stop blathering on about it. Now, do you know who Suyash Dixit is?
Who?
Suyash Dixit.
No, I don't.
Well, I'm going to try and get him on the show tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay? He's an Indian adventurer.
Right.
Okay?
Good.
Now, I don't know whether you've read this story.
No.
But he's declared himself the king of a strip of land in North Africa, which at the moment is not actually covered by any government. Isn't that interesting?
How big or long is this strip?
It's an 800 square mile piece of uninhabited land.
Oh, well, that's quite big.
Which is quite big. It's between Egypt and the Sudan.
Right.
And neither Egypt nor Sudan has claimed it.
So we would say in the parlance of the English language, it's unattached.
This is how they describe it. It's the only place on Earth where humans can live and survive that is not a part of any state or country.
Really?
Isn't that amazing? You feeling all right?
No, I'm fine. So you're saying it's just a piece of scrubland that nobody has...
It's a piece of scrubland. There's the circle around where it is, right?
And nobody has ever laid claim to it?
Nobody's ever laid claim to it.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because it's worthless.
Well, I don't think it is.
A piece of scrubland that's got no resources needs upkeep if you own it.
How do you know
worthless.
it's got no resources?
Well, if it did have... Somebody would have gone there by now and pumped oil out the ground.
Well, there
or
might
dug
be
for gold.
Well, there might be oil in the ground. You
or
don't
put
know
in
that.
a mine to get iron ore out of the ground or something like that.
You see, there's another example of your flat Earth attitude.
No.
See, if you don't take chances in life, you will never actually find anything out.
Well, believe me,
this guy has gone to a part of the world which is unclaimed. He has claimed it, and I think it's a fantastic story. And we're going to try and get this guy on.
I think it's a trash
story. What I don't know is whether he's got a phone line.
Yeah.
Because if he hasn't got a phone line, obviously it's going to prove a bit difficult.
The reason why that land has never been claimed is because it's a worthless piece of scrubland that nobody wants.
Not true.
It can't even grow crops.
Incorrect.
If it could grow crops, it would have been attached to somebody by now, believe me.
At the very least, he could sell it to the Star Wars franchise to shoot the next Star Wars films. It looks exactly like one of the planets in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're out of time. We are the Two Mikes. Rufus Hound is coming up next right here, in for Ian Lee. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. This is Talk Radio.
Talk Radio. Dial up some dialogue.
Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.